First on the play by Prevalent. Got his receiver downfield. That's Paul Davis.
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Going down again. It's Q. Glenn Williams.
Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, it's actual football talk. It's a football show, we're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And Kyle Smith. What is up, Kyle? How are you doing? Are you ready to talk about and discuss with some, I'm sure, very positive Jets fans tonight?
Yeah, I can see that Eagles already just oozing with positivity. So yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready to be super positive. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know where to start. It's like, and I said, prior to this, and last stream was so positive, and we had to talk about some of the things that, we talked about the JFM extension. I think 2 weeks ago, you and I, we guessed the number. I think right at the end of the stream, I was guessing like right around 13. It's like 13 and a half, whatever it might be, or might have been. So we'll discuss that a little bit, talk about some Fadokasi. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about the Jets and how they fix it going forward and where do you feel they are. And it's just crazy because I said it on the film show I just recorded, like the roller coaster ride that we expected this season. I think we're a little bit lower on a lot of the team than we were to start the season. Like I would say, everything being equal, we're probably a little bit disappointed with Zach Wilson. We're probably a little bit disappointed with LaFleur. We're disappointed with the offense altogether. That's just flat out disappointment. The defense is probably a little bit more positive, but like we're just saying, like the highs and lows last week was such a high. Already was so positive in here. You get people, okay, I trust Joe Douglas. Look at Salah. Look at this win. Come back. A young team figuring out a way to win the game, which, let's be honest, a lot of that positivity was based on a field goal. If Randy Bullock makes that field goal and we come out that game tied, it's like, what the hell? We could have closed that game out 1,000 times, and the feel is a lot different. And then the lows of this week where we come to this game, okay, the Falcons are without their number one receiver, without Russell Gage, number two receiver. They're out. They're without their starting safety. They're without a couple of corners because they went down for the season, whatever it was. 32nd ranked defense in the league, offense with limited options, with an immobile quarterback, with a bad offensive line. They come out and shit the bed. Individually, a lot of guys shit the bed. Defensively, I like a lot of what the defensive staff has done. But in general, at times I feel like the defense is a little bit overrated. I don't like the bend but don't break always type deal with this defense in terms of playing off coverage on a team that is going to get rid of the ball quickly on inside, a lot of inside breaking routes. It drove me crazy. But where do we start? We'll start. Let's see who's in here. Let's see. We had 22 again. It's going to drop. Last week was like a good solid 170 the whole time. This week I'll be lucky. It's like 6. Just because people are they're so down right now. But what's up, Yoshi? He says, what's good, Joe and Kyle? And hopefully Kyle. Snoopy was super positive last week. Now he's all pissed again. What is up, Nix, Integra, Giuliani? Again, I know. Let's get through it. Let's discuss it, Kyle. Do you want to start offense or defense with this game, and then we could move to?
Why don't we start offense? Why don't we start offense?
Offense. Zach Wilson to start off. Let's do Zach Wilson, I guess. Let's just get it out of the way. A little bit fancy last week, starting with like the corners and shit like that. But what do you think about Wilson the last 2 games? The mechanical issues, is he in his head? Just start with a base and we'll work off of that base.
Yeah, there's definitely cause for concern, I think. And when I watch it, I'm like, dude, what the fuck, Zach? Like, I'll literally like blurt that out sometimes, like when I'm watching the game, because like I've seen him hit these throws so much, and like when you see him hit like some of these amazing throws, like he can hit this little layup throw. I think a lot of it just is in his head, and in time as he gets more comfortable, like anybody who's played sports knows that like if you're overthinking something, it's going to lead to little mechanical flaw issues. And, as the game gets more comfortable for him, he's going to clean some of that up. So someone said in here, was it Snoopy who said that his short accuracy scares you? I wouldn't be that scared. He didn't have this problem in college.
Not at all. No.
And, when you've seen him this year, even when he's had some pretty bad games, there's still a couple like throws. You're like, wow, what kind of throw? That is an amazing throw. Mm-hmm. So like he can hit throws for sure. I wouldn't be that scared. It's going to take some time. It really is. And but it still sucks though, because I expected him to be, way better than this.
Well, you predicted like 30, like 20, high 20s touchdowns with like 14 picks. And right now he's what 4 touchdowns and like 9 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the completion percent, well, that's a hugely overrated stat. Yeah, it's really disconcerting to be sure. But I think that in due time, he's going to get a lot of this shit worked out and he's still going to be good. I'm not that worried about him. What do you think?
I want to ask you a question before I have an answer. Because people have been comparing him to Josh Allen. Would you rather have a quarterback coming in without those accuracy problems, like with those accuracy problems, with that footwork problems, and him regressing to being, and progressing throughout the year, kind of like working on those problems, or like, I'm not asking this the best way. I'm out of it. Or would you have it be like where Wilson is, where it's okay, he was really good at short to intermediate accuracy. We saw the good footwork in college. We saw him getting his shoulder square. We saw him with his footwork for the most part being good, but not perfect. I criticized his footwork at BYU as well, but it wasn't showing up as much. Like, would you rather have him kind of take a step back like he has and show the accuracy in the past, like kind of where you're at, like with
as opposed to Allen, who a lot of people were low on, and he kind of pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
I would rather have the case of Zach, because Allen never showed in college, and even his first 2 years in the league, to be honest, that he could never consistently be accurate. Like, his year 2 to year 3 jump is still like insane. It still kind of boggles my mind when I think about it. There was such a big projection with Josh Allen. And now you're kind of like, he was always that high, his ceiling is immense, and he happened to kind of come near that ceiling. But the notion that it was going to be any certainty that he would hit that ceiling, it was in my mind, that was a huge gamble. And there's Zach, of course, there's some kind of a gamble coming from a small school. Any quarterback that you take early is a gamble. It's a much less riskier gamble, in my opinion.
Yeah. And again, I think it's in his head, because listen, if he could hit 25-yard digs to Denzel Mims behind a linebacker with like great accuracy, Keelan Cole on the sideline, 57-yard bomb to Keelan Cole last week, another 57-yard bomb to Corey Davis. He could fix the short stuff, and he showed it in college. He showed it on speed outs, on comebacks, on isolated routes, on whatever it was, he could do it. But again, he kind of said he's aiming and thinking about it, and he's thinking about his mechanics, and his feet are all out of whack. His feet are even. He's closing that front foot, not allowing his hips to rotate over that front foot. Now he's overcompensating with his arm. He's either throwing it over the head or usually underthrown to the dirt. Like, his feet are out of whack right now. Like, in terms of going through his reads, that transitional footwork, shoulder pointed as you go through the reads. He's kind of just locking in the ground and then just throwing all arm without getting his base set. Like, it's a lot of that. And then there's some hesitancy too. Like, this game, and like going through his games, like just like quickly, like Panthers game, you give him like a C+, B-. Like, he was good for what he was like watching back. Like, he missed a couple throws, but for what he was given, solid game, or decent game. Panthers game, or Patriots game, straight up F. That was a bad game. Terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Broncos game, he was okay. He wasn't helped out a lot by the receivers in that game. Going to the Titans game, I gave him like a B+. I don't know if you agree with that assessment. Like, he was definitely not perfect. There's a lot of plays he missed.
Oh yeah, no,
short,
definitely not.
And then in this game too, like, he's looking a little bit hesitant now. The footwork isn't good, and there's some decisions. Like, I get that he wants to make some plays, but that play to Elijah Moore that he threw deep, don't love that decision. One, you had Corey Davis wide open on an over route. Like, I don't know.
And it wasn't a great throw either.
Wasn't a great throw. It's a far throw. He's drifting out to his right, has to plant and throw the ball probably 65 yards in the air, considering the vertical and horizontal relationship to where he was throwing the ball to. So not a great decision. And he looks like he's staring it down the entire time. He never looks at Davis. Davis is wide open on around the 30-yard line with nobody around him. So you take an easy completion for a 30-yard gain instead of trying to force a ball, because let's be honest, if that's a better DB, more veteran DB, etc., he turns around, it could be a pick, instead of a PI. And there was there was definitely some bad this game. So this is another game. I would say this is probably his second worst game. It's on an F, but it's like a D plus. You know.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And there's just some times where he's hesitant,
especially when you consider like the offensive line was better in this game. Not to say that they were like good necessarily, but they're definitely better. Like in the Panthers game, he got killed in that game.
Yeah.
You know, so when you think about all this stuff, like you can't just point it all into one direction. Like a lot of people like to say, oh, well, it's the coaching. Oh, well, it's all Zach. Zach's a bust.
Yep.
Or, oh, it's all this. But I think it's like a combination of a lot of these things. Let's put some blame on Zach. Zach, he's definitely got that gunslinger mentality. And on the one hand, you love that because, man, like that, like you don't want to be that guy who's too conservative, Alex Smith, because you're not going to win. You're not going to win the big one, huh?
Mac Jones.
Sure.
You always the common phrase is it's a lot easier to work a guy back down from aggressiveness than work a guy who's conservative to aggressiveness. So you rather have a guy who's too aggressive at this point, and he'll learn. Again, he's not a bust after 5 games. And
not at all. But hold on. So can I finish that point? So like, so even take the Titans game, for example, when he fumbles the snap and, I know, and you pointed this out in your film review that like he was thinking too much. He got really excited. Dude, he's got so much space, nobody around him. There's no reason he should be fading out in a throw like that. He could have totally stepped into that throw. It didn't have to be high. Jameson could have caught it, ran after the catch, potentially went in the end zone, So, so here, let's lay blame on Zach. Zach knows he has special traits that he can kind of throw the ball on different angles off many platforms, and he's overcompensating. Oh, bad shit happened, fumbled the snap. Oh, I know I can throw fading to my left. Yeah, you can, Zach, but you didn't need to right there. And you're doing that shit too much. Coaching, LaFleur's been a disappointment. The coaching staff in general with how they're deploying personnel, the loss of Greg Knapp. I know we kind of downplayed it out of respect to the family and things like that, but that seems to be a thing too. Yeah. And then also the people around him too. Way too many dropped balls. And, the O-line has been, a little disappointing, especially when it comes to things like passing off stunts and things like that, especially a lot in the earlier games. So it's not just one thing. There are several reasons why he's struggling. And some of it is for sure to be blamed on him.
Yeah, the offensive line is rounded out, but like we're saying, I would much rather have a guy be overly aggressive. And I think with more confidence in both the playbook, the guys around him, I think his footwork will fix itself. I just can't see a guy having decent footwork, having good accuracy, going to complete shit and not being able to ever fix it. Like he's a rookie, swimming a little bit. And like you said, it's a combination. People too often like make it black or white, where it's the coordinator or it's the O-line or it's Zach. You have to consider it's obviously a conjunction of all those things. Like week 1, you had some drop passes, you had a bad offensive line performance. Week 2, straight up on Zach. Week 3, the offensive line played a little bit better, still some pressure. Receivers were a massive part of the downfall of the Broncos game, and some of the defense, obviously. Week 4 against the Titans, that was mostly Zach in terms of not taking away advantage. Like, dude, I must have watched that play when I was doing the film review, and maybe even during the actual review, like recording it. I must have paused it. I watched that play probably 25 times in a row.
Which play are you talking about?
The throw to Griffin, where he missed Griffin.
Oh,
if they lost that game, I would not be able to get over that throw, because you're one who's like really realistic, like, oh, you couldn't really make that, bro. But drunk me, 15 millers deep in a parking lot, makes that throw. I make that throw. It's 15 yards. Put it on him. There's not pinpoint accuracy. You have to lead him. If he put it on his body, you can catch that ball. Kyle,
I'm not so sure, man. You were throwing me some passes in the parking lot, and
I'm definitely more accurate than you are. I'm definitely more.
Accurate. I already said I couldn't throw.
Definitely more accurate than you. But
I told you I couldn't throw, bro.
You missed Hoof the last tailgate. He actually came and had a couple beers with me. He got dominated in cornhole. He's not. I don't think he's here now. He usually pops in randomly. But Hoof stopped by us. That was fun.
Oh, that's cool. I wish I could have seen him.
Yeah. But no. I think. And again, it's funny how the chat drops by like literally almost like 100%. We had 28 in here. We had 170 last week. It's so funny. People are so dumb.
My thing says 42.
But mine says 28. Regardless, dropped by at least a third. But I think out of the however many people in here, let's just call it 50. I think 35 people can make that throw to Ryan Griffin. So he's way overthinking it for a D1 athlete getting drafted second overall. It's just he's overthinking. He's aiming it. He just needs to just play football. Just play. Like even that play to there's two plays I'm thinking about just generic or not generically, but Titans game. That do you remember the force to Davis over the middle where Davis got the PI? Cole was wide open on the sideline.
Yeah.
Cole was wide open on the sideline. Just hit that. Just take it. And even in this game, like some of like the playmaker mentality, the stuff I saw at BYU at times, because there's times where he's like not seeing things over there too. The play where he was rolling out to the right and like he takes that, like he kind of just runs into a tackle where he's scrambling. Michael Carter, he's looking at Michael Carter, either one, dump it off quick, or he sees he doesn't want to throw to Michael Carter. Why? Because the linebacker's there. The linebacker now is closing ground and you're running away from the linebacker. Well, if that linebacker's closing ground down on you, where do you think Michael Carter is? You know, like I would like to see him float that ball either one to Carter right away, two, once the linebacker closes distance, now float it over his head, or three, slide and or at least make a better juke move. Like I've seen him play much better than just protect the ball and fall into a guy, you know, for a first down. Like it was, so that play too, I was like, you know, maybe I'm being overly critical of him, but 2022, 2023, Zach, I want to see that linebacker closing ground and float over his head. Like
you're not being overly critical. He was taking, listen, you had what some people thought was a franchise quarterback. You traded him away to take Zach number 2 overall over other highly touted prospects. You're not being critical. It's totally warranted.
Yeah. So again, want to see him float that over to Michael Carter. Like there was plenty of missed throws this game. He missed a Griffin one. Griffin on the right sideline. He had to hold the ball a little bit because there was a guy in his face and he tried to like sign arm it, but you still want to see him make that throw. Like there was plenty.
You still talking about the Titans game or are you talking about the Falcons game now?
This game now where I think Griffin's he's rolling out to the right and there's a defensive lineman in his face and he like looks like
and then Griffin has to go down to get the ball, right?
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, but
as opposed to being able to catch it and run for yards. Yeah.
Well, there was so in that play, he's rolling out to the right. There's a defender in his face, and then you have Griffin running to the sideline, and then there's a defensive back like closing ground to the outside. So it looks like he tried to put it on him because the defensive back was like that. It looked like a cloud corner was like closing ground from the outside. So he just tried to put it right on his body while avoiding the inside or the pressure from the defensive lineman. So he tried to sidearm it and he just dirted it. It wasn't as bad as people thought it was, to be completely honest. But again, these are throws that you want to see him make more consistently than not, you know, even if it's not necessarily an easy throw. So yeah, I've been disappointed. I think that everybody in the chat, you know, like, and we understand and trust me, go to the chat 2 weeks ago with me and you, everybody going crazy in chat, hating the Jets and us preaching patience. But I think at this point right now, if we said, okay, through 5 weeks, is Zach Wilson where we expected him to be when we drafted him and going into the season after seeing what was said about him, you know, preseason, seeing him preseason, etc. Preseason, he wasn't missing these throws. He wasn't missing these throws in camp from what we heard. So, or from what we've heard. So yeah, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, but at the same time, are we saying that he's not, we can't fix him? You know, he's not going to be a good quarterback. And too many people just draw up to, you know, look at Peyton, look at Josh Allen. Like those are the kind of the outstanding examples or whatever you want to say, not outstanding examples, maybe I don't know what words I'm looking for.
Commonly brought up examples.
Yeah. Like the examples that aren't necessarily the norm kind of. So I don't necessarily want to directly compare it to that, but to act like we can't fix Zach Wilson, like has he been so bad where you think he's a bust and he should sit on the bench at this point, Kyle? Or
dude, quarterbacks have gone through way tougher. Dude, I'm sorry. Josh Allen, his rookie situation was a lot tougher. And I forget stats for a moment too, but Josh Allen got blown out in a lot of his early games. Like, you know, like totally routed. Like I don't think he started that game against the Ravens the rookie year, the opening day, but they lost like 40-something nothing or whatever. And he might have come in that game. They got like totally routed their first couple games. The O-line for Josh Allen that year was horrible. You know, think about, not that Derek Carr is good or anything like that. He's like average-ish, but think about how bad those Raiders teams were his rookie year. You know, so a lot of guys have been in like even worse situations and stuff. It's 5 games. And I know that Joe Blewett on game day, especially when the team's playing bad, is very different than Joe Blewett during the live stream. No doubt about that. Like,
I think any person who drinks like maybe I do on game day is a little bit different than them sober. So
yeah. Yeah. You were texting me being very positive this past Sunday. Just kidding.
Yeah.
But
I actually wasn't drinking. I was just super. I was up for like 26 hours at that point, and I was just like done. I was just so done.
but it's a long season. It's a really long season, and hopefully they get some shit figured out this bye. Like oh God, like obviously everyone here knows that I'm not no fan of Sam Darnold or whatever, but was it off the bye week? Or Darnold at a certain point during the Gase era at least started to play better, and all the beat reporters were writing, well, he finally sat down with Adam Gase and told him what plays he was comfortable with and what plays he wasn't. And I'm assuming there's a lot of truth to that story, and he did start playing better at a certain point in that season. So, like, I think this was post the Monday night disaster, seeing ghost game.
Was that right after he came back? So I'm pretty sure that was, and I could be wrong, after he came back from mono, played an okay game. Like the Cowboys game was overrated by him. They scored like 20 points in the first half, and they got like a field goal in the second half, and almost let the Cowboys come back in the game. Nonetheless, okay game against the Cowboys, which, by the way, that ball to Robbie Anderson was too far inside. Nonetheless, comes back the next game and has the Monday night stinker, or Sunday night. It was the Monday night.
It was Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, so that might have been it, but yeah, I think, and it's a combination too. Like,
but the point of what I was saying is we got to buy right now, so hopefully, like, they use this time to do a lot of like self-reflection, because sometimes like when you're in the middle of a game week, you're prepping for the following week. Now you got 2 weeks, so before you start really preparing for the Patriots, now you got all this time. What the fuck have we been doing the first 5 weeks that hasn't been working? Fix that shit before you start preparing for the upcoming game. And hopefully there's some kind of progress, and then we continue to build off it.
Yeah, I see people in the chat. I'll get to the comments. I see Eagle saying that he's going to keep us busy, and we're going to address the comments eventually, which I'll get to. But yeah, the coaching, hasn't been good from LaFleur. Like the fact that, again, I said it last. I'm not sure if I said it with you or with Nania, but like the fact that they're sticking so heavily to their guns with 12 personnel.
Oh my God.
When you have Mims, when you have Cole, and you have Moore, when you have Davis, like, listen, all-star cast of receivers? No, but they're solid. Like, I'm not going to go back on that. They're still a solid group of receivers. People kill Davis, but like, while he hasn't been maybe great, is he right now a good number 2? I think that's what he is. And I think that's what we said, a good number 2, a low tier number 1. That's kind of what he's been for $12.5 million. That's what you expect. So while a few drops, in a couple of games are disappointing, overall, he's been okay. Moore's being in the open more than you see, but he hasn't been targeted. Like, there's talent at receiver. And even if you're not overly high on the talent at wide receiver, I can tell you there's a lot more talent at wide receiver than there is at tight end, playing guys like Ryan Griffin and Daniel Brown and all of these guys. That's been disappointing. The fact that LaFleur isn't manufacturing touches for Elijah Moore is frustrating. You're seeing guys like Braxton Berrios get end arounds instead of Elijah Moore, who's much more electric with the ball in his hands. The fact that last game we're down 10 points with like 2 minutes left and we're running play action, deep play action passes. It's like, what are we doing? With play action with 2 minutes left in the game.
And notice the Falcons linebackers in that game. Like, early on, they're biting on the play action. Later on in the game, they're not moving with the play action fakes.
Because they're playing everything deep. So now you're playing everything deep. Now, what's the problem with play action? Yes, it's great that the fact that you can get the linebackers to suck up. That's the main point of it. But when they're playing soft coverage, now what you're doing, you're taking your quarterback's eyes, who's a little bit slow in processing and doing some of those things. Now you're taking his eyes off the play for a second or second and a half, because now he's having to carry out that fake. So what is the point of that? The fact that we have 13 total points in the first half this year is an embarrassment. The stat I read to you before we came on, the NFL through 5 games, at the average through 5 games in the first quarter yardage per team is 402 total yards through the first quarter. The Jets have 79, less than 25%. It's about 20, 22%, 21% of the NFL average in the first quarter of games. It's been an absolute joke. The play action game, he's been struggling with it. Get away from it. The fact that they're not running a lot of 11 personnel versus 12 personnel, start using your talent. You don't have to be so dead set on 12 personnel. It's a Shanahan system. 12, adjust 11 personnel. That's where the talent is. Just like Old Brick this game, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The fact that we're bailing and playing off zone coverage, zone blitz on 3rd and 12, when your bread and butter this entire year has been man blitzes on 3rd down versus guys like Olavia Zacchaeus, or whoever the hell these guys are. And now you're running zone coverages where one of the main problems with zone is if you have miscommunications instead of just running man to man, like that, just crazy. But yeah, that again, the lack, and I get the fact that Zach Wilson hasn't been completing the short passes, but get him in a rhythm. Where are some like the slants, the spot concepts, the spacing, like the simple stuff to start the game off? Like a lot of it's like these deep concepts. Like I don't think they're getting them going well. The running game hasn't been working, which I get because they're down, so they can't run it, as well. The lack of motion and stuff like that, pre-snap motion. The first couple of games, I think that's improved a little bit from my eye watching it. But LaFleur has had plenty of problems right now too. So what do you think about LaFleur? Because he's been frustrating as well. He's a big cog in this kind of machine that the Jets are right now.
In terms of the deep passing concepts, I think that he's trying to accommodate to his strength of Zach. I mean, Zach is good at throwing the deep ball, and he's certainly willing to push that ball deep. But the problem is, A, if the line's not holding up, or B, like if teams are expecting that, it's not going to work as well. But if you can start to get in a rhythm where you are hitting them with the shorter stuff, eventually, we'll hit them with a deeper shot. You can't just always go for a deeper shot, because if they're playing, too high back and they're just sitting back, or teams are not going to be expecting. I mean, like Zach, his big throws in the Titans game, they came on like broken plays, so.
Which you can't depend on.
Of course you can't depend on it. What was I going to say with, and you brought up Zach's play action fakes, they're starting to get worse as the weeks go on. He's starting to act a little bit like Sam Darnold was last year. And like, there was a couple times in this game, it's like, dude, you didn't even sell that fake at all, man.
Yeah, not a good fake. He's like just slowly getting a little bit farther away from the running back when he's pulling that ball. And again, some of that is based on not trusting your offensive line, because again, the longer you hold up the fake, the more time you need in the pocket, the less time your eyes are down the field. So if he's not trusting his offensive line, his receivers get open, whatever, he's trying to pull that ball early to look at the defense. But like the fact that like, just again, like not a lot of shotgun, like there is some shotgun, but like get him in shotgun, get him where he's comfortable, get him like he was at BYU, instead of like all this like single back play action, like they just need to change it up a little bit. I don't think LaFleur has given him enough adjustments to what he's struggling with right now, which early is, it feels like every single game right now, it's like some combination of the first three drives for the Jets is a 3-and-out interception. Like that's always how the game starts. And the Falcons are up, whatever, or Falcons or wherever team is up early on the Jets, even Titans 9-0. But let's go to the chat a little bit and we'll hit on the rest of the offense. Unless is there anything else you want to hit on with Zach? It's been talked about a lot.
Just like real quick, like, so I know that Robbie for a lot of weeks has been preaching like the 3-step game and getting the ball out quick and getting him in rhythm, and rhythm builds a quarterback's confidence. So I do agree with that. And I don't necessarily know that doing it under center is the best, because Zach's not best from under center, but you could still have a quick game from the shotgun. So I would like to see more of that for sure.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
1-step read throw. Like you don't need to get 3 steps. You can just take a 1-step read and shotgun and just sit there. That's fine as long as you have the proper weight transfer and all that stuff. It's not like you need to be dropping to read a play. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense, but
yeah, let's go to the chat.
Yeah. Eagles saying something about the it's gonna take 4 to 5 years to make up for the bad drafting. I'm not going to say, I'm going to say next year.
No way.
Next year, with them having $70 million in cap space, hopefully, with the Jets pick, it's gonna be top 10. And the Seahawks right now, you're going to say it's at least top 15, even if Wilson comes back in a couple of weeks. So that plus 2 seconds, all this stuff, like I would expect the Jets to be competing for a playoff spot next year. I would. And if they're not, I'll be disappointed, because I think this roster, and we went through it in the offseason, this roster, minus coaching, minus all this stuff, maybe even minus quarterback, this roster right now is better than the 7-9 year with us in 2019 with Adam Gase. It's like how much worse is it than the 2015 team? Like it's not. This team is not bad enough to be a 3 and now it's 14 team, or 5-11 or 5-12 or whatever it is. Like I think we're a little bit better than that. It's just things aren't clicking. So I say less than 4 to 5 years. I would say 2 to 3. Next year compete for a playoff spot. That's 2022. If they're not making the playoffs by 2023, I will be disappointed. Not next season. The season after that, they're not in the playoffs, I will be disappointed. So a little bit less. I would say more to 3 to 4 years and 4 to 5, but it is what it is. Snoopy saying
I'll be pretty disappointed if they're not in the playoffs next year.
Depending on the schedule, yeah, and how things break and injuries, yeah. I would say that I would not be I wouldn't be angry like if they were like 8-9, 9-8, and just missed next year. But I think on the higher end, you hope for them to make the playoffs, and it depends on how they address the roster. But again,
yeah, I mean, but just like think about it. 7 teams make it now. Okay, the Colts, who's Reich's a good coach and stuff. Okay, the Wentz. The Browns are going to have to pay Baker Mayfield probably. The Ravens are going to have to pay Lamar Jackson. So those teams are paying those guys. They're going to have to, kind of allocate resources in that direction. They're going to lose their ability to sign some other guys and stuff. Whereas the Jets are going to kind of hopefully hit their stride. Listen, if Zach is really going to be what we think he's going to be, if they don't make the playoffs next year, considering he stays healthy, that is a big disappointment in my book. But anyway,
moving on, to be sick of Corey Davis. I don't know if that was before I said that, but I think it's before. But I would be sick of him again. $12.5 million. You're expecting a high end number 2, a low tier number 1. Like he's not, minus a couple of drops here and there. He hasn't been terrible. Like I think he's been okay for the money we paid him. Also says that Zach is the closest thing he's seen to a true Brett Favre mentality. Yeah, right now he does. Like he's seeing guys open short and just wants to take those deep shots. So that's a little bit of a concern.
And again, you have to kind of love that about him because, yeah, I know Saleh wants him to play boring football, and truthfully, to be a really good quarterback, he is going to have to make it a little bit more boring. But he could just go into a shell and say, "Oh, I'm getting clobbered. Oh, I'm throwing a lot of picks. I'm not going to push the ball deep because I want to keep my interception numbers down." Because the average run-of-the-mill fan, they see a high interception line. Oh, he sucks. Oh, your quarterback. Like a lot of my students came in after the Patriots game. They're like, "Oh, your quarterback threw 4 interceptions. He's a bust." You know, tell me he's a bust after his second NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people, they just see a stat line, touchdowns to interceptions. Oh, he's a bust. No. So some quarterbacks could take something like that as, oh, I got to be more conservative with the ball. Even though he's struggled week after week with, turnover worthy plays, he still has that gunslinger mentality. So he's not, crawling into a ball and just playing it safe. So I think there's something to be optimistic with that there.
Yeah. Simply's talking about hiring Doug Peterson, but cringe at the thought of us hiring Doug Peterson, but damn, that would have been light years better than this. I think if you had to take Doug Peterson as a play caller over LaFleur, I would take that. But as a head coach, no way. Absolutely no way.
Kyle Shanahan won how many games his rookie year as a head coach? 4?
Shanahan? Yeah. It wasn't a lot. That's for sure. I know their first couple of years were really, really bad. Maybe 3.
And some people still consider him a borderline top 5 coach in the NFL. So
yeah. Eagles talking about him being old school, and it took us a while to gain the trust of Jets X Factor. So I appreciate that. I guess we did. Moving on to Urban Meyer, we know that situation. Gruden bailed him out with all of his stuff. Now nobody's ever really talking about Urban Meyer. Play calling is not the issue. It's Wilson looking for small gains instead of the miracle plays. It's ironic. He makes his small gains in the second half of games. Look at the tape. It's a combination. It's a combination of the play calling, which I said it in my past video, and I said it or in the video that's actually being uploaded tomorrow. And in the past, it's a combination. It's not just the play calling. It's not just Wilson. Now, is there ways that LaFleur can improve? Yes, like just personnel based. The fact that Ryan Griffin that one game saw like 36 reps as a tight end too, and Mims didn't see the field, is a joke. Like you have to be able to adjust. Again, the play action and not getting Wilson in a rhythm. Like there are.
I got a question for you.
Him too. Go ahead.
Straight up. Obviously, Ryan Griffin has probably 20 to 30 something pounds on him. As a blocker, straight up,
Mims is better.
You think Mims is better straight up than Ryan Griffin?
Yeah.
At the very least, it's super comparable.
If I'm like now maybe in terms of like, I guess it's like different. Like in terms of pass blocking versus run blocking. Like if it's a crack block, I would trust Mims more because it's more physicality in terms of like, I guess technique, but in terms of like pass blocking, like kind of like, shuffling with the line of scrimmage, staying square, like all that stuff. I think that's a little bit more for him to learn than just straight up, okay, move this guy, crack him inside. Mm-hmm. So I would say in a run blocking situation, Mims, and pass blocking, I think Griffin would probably be a little bit more consistent in terms of like knowing where he is, knowing how to play it a little bit more.
Of course, you're not going to put Mims in as
a wide,
and expect him on a inside zone split to cut across and make the block. I mean, that's not necessarily his game, but when, according to your personnel, you adjust your play calling accordingly. And just having Mims on the field, it would confuse the defense more. Oh, is this going to be pass or run? Whereas percentage wise, when Ryan Griffin's on the field, okay, we have to think that the run percentage significantly goes up when he's on the field.
That, and they don't have to respect him in the passing game, so they could aid, like, not aid themselves, but they could play more heavy run because how much of a threat is he in the passing game? You know, where Mims, it's like, okay, well, now if you keep that third linebacker in, Mims versus linebacker, I'm taking Mims every day. You know, so
the only area
Mims was
where
in the
Ryan
slot,
Griffin,
by the way, in that long, it was like a crease concept where he ran that.
Yeah.
He ran the dig route. Hey, he was in the slot. You know, like, get him on the field more. They need to get him on the field more. He makes plays every time he's in the game. And listen, that dig, that catch, all that was better than the Panthers game. That's talked about too much. Oh, he came in the game, made a 40-yard reception. Okay, it was a completely blown coverage. Everybody should make that play. But nonetheless, when he was in, he's making some plays. So he needs to be see some more reps over Ryan Griffin and Daniel Brown and all these joke tight ends, which again is a reason we went through all the stuff with Douglas last week and the last 2 weeks. Where the tight end position right now is, considering how important it is in this offense, is a failure so far.
So I was having a conversation with a student today, and this student was telling me that that she had this math teacher back in like middle school or whatever, and this math teacher used to yell at the student. And this is a student that tries very hard, and this math teacher would like yell, "Why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? Why don't you get it?" And I told the student, I was like, if you're a teacher and you have a student that's trying really hard, and you as a teacher are saying, why don't you get, it's probably a you problem.
It's probably you. Yeah.
What are you doing wrong? You know, like if this, so, like the Jets really need to do some introspect. Like, okay, if Mims is not understanding the playbook, like what are we doing wrong to teach him? Like, how can we find ways to get this guy on the field? Like, if you're really coming home every night and you really think that your game plan is going to be better putting Ryan Griffin 30-something snaps and Denzel Mims not even a full handful, that's a you problem. Like, you need to figure that shit out, because clearly you're like, the NFL is about talent. I don't care. Nick Saban as a head coach right now in the NFL, he'd be better than so many of these other coaches, but why wouldn't he stand a chance against most of these NFL teams? It goes down to talent. And yes, Alabama has a lot of talent. No doubt about it. But talent makes the differences in games and stuff. And you need to find a way to get your talented players on the field. So
Jets says he thinks that Zach Wilson's ceiling is higher than Darnold's. Yes. 1,000% it's higher.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, because we got a decent amount of chats now. Some more people joining. He gets one full year. Next year, he'll be better than Namath. I guess talking about Wilson. Wilson can throw a ball a minimum of 23 yards farther than Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same guy who said a couple of weeks ago he's not having long touchdowns, and the next game he comes out and throws a 56-yard touchdown? I think this is the same guy who said he didn't have a ball of over like 40 yards go for a touchdown, but then he threw a ball on the run, for it was like 57 yards in the air or whatever it was. Or no, it was like 65. But I think air yards or like from the line of scrimmage was like 56. So yeah. So if Josh Allen can throw a ball 80 yards, actually probably like 90 yards, then yes, he can throw farther than Wilson. Like, no, he cannot throw a ball 3 yards farther than Wilson. Unless you think Josh Allen can throw 90 yards.
Well, even if Josh Allen could, he's not going to hit someone 90 yards with the ball.
How far is Zach Wilson loaded up, crow hopping, can he throw a ball? Because he threw a ball to Davis. And again, we've seen him throw balls that were like 60 yards from where he threw the ball. And that's with him on the run and not even like vertically running, like on the side running. So if he crow hopped full into it, I think he could throw a ball probably 70 yards.
Oh, yeah.
70, 75.
No doubt about it. Dude, they used to have at the Pro Bowl, like before the game, they'd have all these competitions and stuff, and they had some of the big strong armed quarterbacks, people like Favre and other kinds of guys. Vic might have been there too, and they were definitely pushing the ball, some of them past 70 yards.
Yeah. So without having to read anything, without having to time it, whatever. Like
yeah.
That. Again, he threw a ball. Was the Davis from where he threw the ball? It was like 60, 65 yards from where he threw it, or I think it was like 57-yard completion, but the air yards, maybe it was like 57, but he's on the run. So yeah, Josh Allen, unless he can throw 90 yards. Keep moving on. Eagle.
And by the way, nobody ever said that Zach Wilson had a stronger arm than Josh Allen. Nobody.
No, but it's definitely a top 10 arm. We were talking about the throws last week, and I think I said in terms of his pure arm talent, he's probably in the top 7. And I think we listed, I'm going to forget, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, maybe Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, and there's one other I'm forgetting who can make the throws that he did in the Titans game.
Did you say Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers, and I think Kyler Murray was in there, maybe 6, 7, 8 guys. But other than that, who else can make those throws that he made in the Titans game? Like on the run, on a dime. I don't think there's a lot, to be honest. What's up, Freagle D? I see you. Well, I think defense has been good enough. The defense has been good enough, but I don't want people to overreact to the defense in terms of you have to think about it in this sense. I think I don't know if I already mentioned this if this is pre-show. The Panthers game, they didn't have to put up a lot of points in the second half. Broncos game, they didn't have to put up any points. They didn't put up a field goal. They would beat the Jets. Pats game, they were up whatever it was. This game, they were blowing us out 20-3 at halftime. Like the defense does deserve some credit. Quincy Williams, Michael Carter, Bryce Hall, etc. They deserve credit. But let's not say like, oh, they're a top 10 defense, because if the Jets were in more of these games offensively, would these teams be putting up more than 20, 23, 27 points, if they were actually trying to drive the ball down the field consistently? So yes, while they've been, positive still. Yoshi asks, what makes you more irritable, sleep deprivation while watching the Jets play terribly, or chugging numerous adult beverages while watching the Jets play terribly? I don't know. I don't know. I would say probably when I'm drinking, I'm a little bit more frustrated than when I'm just sleep deprived. Because I think I was up like 26 hours when that game started, like 24 hours. And I was like, just go into the bye week. Let's be positive. Let's get good chats. Let's get everybody excited, because Kyle and I, to be transparent, said, hey, the Jets win this game, we're going to live stream. And then like an hour into the game, I text Kyle like, yep, guess we're not live streaming. And Kyle's like, dude, there's a whole second half and all this stuff. And I just I don't know what that's called. Like you can react to the message. I just ha-ha'd it. Like, right. Okay. They're coming
I was
back.
like, he's in one of those moods again.
I was exhausted, but yeah, it's close. Quick thing we'll talk about because Eagle Flame brought up, he said Marcus Maye, another clown. After being arrested for DWI, he just wants his way out of New York with the I prefer to be traded winner, trade him to the Jags or Texans. And what's up, Drew? I see you right under that. Drew O'Neill just got done teaching. I don't know if I've seen you in here, Drew, but what's up? What are your thoughts on the whole Marcus Maye situation? You really have to comment on it. Do you trade him? What do you get, etc.? And then with that being said, because you're going to say trade him, safety is the number one need on defense next year to me, because they have nobody. If Joyner's gone, it's Ashton Davis and whoever else is under contract next year. It's not Gerard Wilson. It's not Neesman. It's Ashton Davis, and that's it. So
yeah, and he hasn't shown anything to put confidence in you for the future. Not to say that he isn't talented or anything, and not to say that he can't grow, but it's just you just haven't seen any evidence of it yet. And yeah, like 39 is really bad.
Gerard Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, trade him. I don't know what you're going to get from him at this point. I mean,
I think a 4th round pick.
Like people are like kind of touting him as like a really high character guy. And I think he was a captain at some.
Your boy, Marcus Maye, by the way.
I do like his game on the field, but
yeah,
I mean, like he's been a little bit of a baby, and how much of that is his good friend Jamal Adams putting, words in his ears and stuff about how you got to get out of that place. You got to get out of that place.
Yeah, Seattle. He's doing Jamal Adams, by the way, is balling out in Seattle. You see that?
Yeah.
He's balling out. Not making plays in the run game. He's not making plays in anything. He's not making any plays right now. He plays hard, but he's not playing well at all. Which is, dude. No, I root against Jamal Adams. There's no way to say that. He sucks right now.
I mean, I don't claim to watch the Seahawks closely. Are they playing him a lot differently than how he was deployed here in New York?
From what I'm watching on broadcast, it seems like it's pretty similar. I know they're not blitzing him as much and asking him to drop into coverage more this year. But still, you're getting
you should. You're a safety, so you should be able to.
$17 million a year or whatever it is. You should be in coverage at times.
Yeah.
So he's a joke, but
so I don't know what you're going to get from May. I mean, some people are still saying a 4th. After the, I was saying maybe a 4th before the DUI information. Now with that, you still think
I think it's a 4th. Dude, if Joe Douglas can trade Chris Herndon and a 6th for a 4th and get all these trades he's gotten the last couple of years, I don't see him getting less than a 4th for Marcus Maye. I think that's
well, Joe's good in the sense that he finds he's like my brother Gary. When we play board games, my brother Gary's really good at ripping off gullible people, and Joe Douglas
needy people.
Yeah.
Needy, like listen, like if some of these teams, I think it's like the Bucks and like maybe the Packers were interested or something like that, but that's like
okay. So the Bucks have a lot of secondary injuries, and obviously they're in win now mode. So okay, maybe
Packers. Last year
Okay.
with Rodgers, they don't really have a lot at safety. They have Darnell Savage and I don't know who the other guy
Who
is.
they took in the first round. So are they really needy at safety? I mean, not to say that
I don't know who
Savage
the other
has.
safety is. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely trade him. He's been a little bit of a baby, like just his press conferences, all that stuff. Now he's requesting to get traded and
What did he
for a
say in a press
contract.
conference? I didn't see his press
I'm
conference.
just
What did
saying
he say?
his press conferences in general. He just doesn't seem very happy. Like he's just kind of like, I'm here, like whatever, like very monotone. Like he's just not. You can tell he's not happy. I don't have any direct quotes or anything like that, but I haven't been thrilled with him. And moving on, like, and we talked about with this contract in terms of the franchise tag, it had to make sense for the Jets financially, which basically would be Marcus Maye getting locked at about that franchise tag rate for a couple of years. That's how it makes sense for the Jets because again, they can give basically with the few franchise tags, they can basically give you a 2-year contract. Let's say it's $24 million on those 2 years. So if you're asking for $13-14 million a year, why are they going to give you those extra $1 million, $2 million a year with that guaranteed money? So now if you get hurt, they're paying you for injury, where they can just franchise you back to back and get rid of you after a year. So to have to make sense of them financially to sign you. So if you're asking for 13, 14 and guaranteed money and all this stuff, then no, it's not worth it. So it's smart financially from the Jets. Jets says offensive play calling.
Plus another thing too is like you wanted to see how he was going to play with Saleh. This was going to be his first year with Saleh. So it was, some guys, they play really well in a different scheme and then a new coach and maybe they don't play as well. So it's kind of like test run before we make a long-term commitment to you in a way as well.
Got to stop starting slow. 100% agree. CD soft zone. So shocked that never went away from it. Yeah, that frustrated the shit out of me. And I gave the defense like the number one dud. Like the fact that they were just off coverage against a team that again, short stuff, typically inside. Guess what? You play them press. You play them inside leverage. Now guess what? They're either completely mugged on inside breaking routes, or two, they cut it. They have to break outside, longer developing routes to the outside. Now that gives your pass rush that is highly touted a chance to get to an immobile quarterback. But now
against a bad O-line.
But no, you're playing Bryce Hall, which looked like a cover 6 or whatever, while I broke it down, on 3rd and 12, where the receiver breaks in on a slant and it's wide open for a first down in a situation where you need to get off the field and you get away from your bread and butter man coverage and you go to a zone. Like why? Why this game they decided to do zone on blitzes on 3rd down? It doesn't make sense. Zach got to work on his decision-making footwork and short passes. Yes. Let's keep going down real quick. I hope you're right, Joe. I'm dead wrong on what you're talking about. Jets need a year of better health. That's for sure. The Jets have not been lucky the last 3 years. Like I remember the one year, I think it was before Gase came, they were super healthy. And then Gase came and it was like, oh, Gase always has really injured teams. Cause usually it's like a thing where like 1 year you're lucky, 1 year you're not. But since the last 3 years, the Jets have been brutalized by injuries. And at first it seemed like, okay, the Jets are getting through this offseason. It seems good. Joyner, May, Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry, it just kept going on and
like
on.
So many of this guy
holy shit.
Barely played any snaps too. Like you didn't even get to see them at all.
Yeah, Becton played a 3/4 of a game. Vinny Curry didn't take a snap. Ronald Blair hasn't seen a snap. Joyner saw like a few snaps. Lawson didn't see any snaps. Yeah. It's like, damn, man. But the thing I will say is, and going forward, this team, a lot of people are saying like draft edge rushers and all this stuff. Can you imagine this team just with Carl Lawson, with let's say, Carl Lawson, JFM, who's by the way a defensive end, he got paid as a defensive end, or as he's playing that position, he has versatility. But next year, you'd imagine it's Rankins, Q inside, see the super shot. I'll get to it in a second, and then JFM and Lawson on the outside, and then you have you still have Fatukasi, hopefully you still have Huff as a backup. So. It'll be really exciting with Lawson back there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that JFM is going to take the majority of his snaps at defensive end next year, Joe. You're going to have Carl.
So we're
having
this argument again. So
you're going to have stop it. You're going to have Carl Lawson. Okay. You want to keep Huff on the field. Okay. Rankins is on a 1-year deal.
He's on a 2-year deal.
Is he?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
2-year deal.
Well, then I'm an idiot then.
Okay, good.
But still, though, I still think, and you agreed with me, he is more effective on the inside. So he's kind of there. He's good there. There's a reason why he's there, but it's also partly out of necessity too.
I think that's a closer debate now, based on the way that Huff has been playing at edge. Where do you see Huff take less snaps? Like, would you rather have Huff or Rankins in a game? That compiled with the fact that now JFM is being taken out of his like best position at 3 tech. You know, we can have that discussion later on.
Sure.
You know, but it's more of a conversation to have than, hey, have Curry on the field over Rankins, you know, to me.
We won't revisit Vinny Curry. We won't do that.
Unless he gets re-signed. I'd say we need the reincarnation of Chad Pennington. Sure, healthy Chad Pennington can take you all the way. Who was the last truly great Jets quarterback that I've seen? None. I've never seen any of them. Who?
Yeah, and we obviously didn't watch the Namath days, but just going based on like
great quarterback, none.
Yeah, and even Namath, like, of course stats aren't, but he's got a ton more interceptions in his career than touchdowns. And some people say, well, yeah, the game was a lot differently back then. Yeah, but compare him to other guys like Franz Harkinen, doesn't have a stat line like that. Yeah. So I don't even know that we could say that Namath is great other than the fact that he won a Super Bowl. And yes, he was very talented, no doubt. But
yeah, moving on. I'm going to move through a little bit quicker because there's a lot to touch on still. Mims needs to see the field more. Yes, I agree with that. I'm going through it relatively quickly. Danger Cobra said Mims clearly should be at least our solid number 4 guy. Him, Crowder, Moore, and Davis should be our lineup. Yeah, at least number 4. And again, the fact that you're playing Ryan Griffin over some of these guys is a joke. Let's see. Is why Shepard start over Quinn and Foley? He was, maybe he saw the first reps, but he didn't see the reps. He needs to go. Dude, his personal fouls and encroachments and all that stuff. He needs to go. I'm done with the Nathan Shepard thing.
Yeah, not to mention he's really old too.
You can get a safety in the second or third. Yeah, and I agree with the lack of focus on I don't think it'll be a premium position for them to address this offseason, but they need to address it. They need to get at least an okay starter. Moving on. What's up, guys? Big Jets fan living in Vegas. Thanks for the shout out, Drew. Oh, what's up? Yeah, I haven't seen you before, Drew, so appreciate you being in here. I know it's hard to be listening to some Jets talk, but hopefully we are entertaining. At least I don't know. Trading May for going to the Jan Knats Nelson, who I know because he definitely has a Twitter and I've definitely seen him before. Jan, appreciate you. Beer money, you guys are great. So that beer money's going to me because Kyle doesn't drink. So thank you. I'm gonna need it. That's gonna buy me like a beer and a half at MetLife. But that's why you drink in the parking lot and you don't drink that much in the game, even though.
By the way, Joe Blewett finds ways to swindle other people out of beers at the stadium. What
does that mean? I don't remember that.
Yeah, you do. So one guy wanted to buy like 6 beers at the stadium, and the lady wouldn't sell him 6 beers.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm with him," and you're like, "No, you're not with me." He's like, and then you told him, "Yeah, I'm with you, but I get to have half your beer."
Yes, I chugged half his beer. I was like, I'll buy it, and you're gonna pay me, but I'm getting at least half your beer because then what is it worth my time for? You know, that guy literally had 6 beers on him. I was like, dude, I'm getting half one of those. And I got to tell you a story. This is 100% an offline story about Tom last game, the Titans game.
Okay.
We drank a good amount in the stadium as well. And my God.
Tom, who wore Sam Darnold socks to the Panthers game.
Yeah. That's Tom. Yep. Jan, if I'm not saying your name right, I've been saying to call you Jan because I don't know how to. Katz Nelson?
Well, spell it out hyphenetically so you know how to pronounce it.
I'm calling him Jan. But I've seen him plenty of times. I think he's more of a Twitter guy than a live stream guy, but I appreciate you, Jan. ABT looking nice. Yeah, we're going to that. We're going to get to the rest of the offense now, or in a second. I'm just trying to get through anything if I see. Okay. Moving on to the rest of the offense. Offensive line. People are talking about it's a live video on YouTube, Steven. I'm not sure what you're talking about. It just ended a few minutes ago. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, Steven. Offensive line. Now the thing is, so just hit on that base, and then we'll go into some of the side topics of the offensive line. But what do you think about it this game? Maybe last game a little bit.
I thought the offensive line was pretty solid, honestly, and Nani might have the numbers and stuff, and obviously getting down early, you put yourself in a hole. Mm-hmm. But was the running great in this game? No, but I think that if they got themselves in a better position, like when they were running, especially late in the game, it was effective. It's just, when you get yourself in a hole and things like that, you kind of make yourself one dimensional. But so people want to talk about ABT. Yeah, he looked good.
Dude, and some of those plays that were highlighted by a certain person were like not crazy highlights. Like the one you're going to see me make fun of it pretty bad in the stream where like the guy's already falling down and like he kind of like taps him on the ass and he falls down. I'm like, yeah, that's 100% McGovern. But nonetheless,
just like the Chiefs game with
Becton. Becton and Alex Lewis.
Yeah, Alex Lewis. I always
Yeah.
forget Alex Lewis's name.
Yeah.
But so when I was watching AVT, like the scouting term, not that I've ever really heard, the word multitasker came to my mind because like you saw him processing a lot quicker in this game. Like, okay, like I'm not getting a rush from this lane.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go and work over. And he looked really smooth sliding and looking for work in this game. He looked a lot more comfortable. When
Last
he gets
game
in
too.
space. Yeah. They're pulling him a lot now. And, you know, he looks really good when he pulls and stuff. So yeah, I think this guy's going to be, he's going to be good. And like we said, like, you know, lineman is not always a safe proposition, but he's probably as safe as a guard prospect as you can think. And look, you know, we said how he said long season. Did AVT struggle a little bit early on? Did he have a full training camp? No, he didn't.
Yeah.
5 weeks in, he's looking pretty good. You know, rookies.
You're telling me a rookie guard struggled without a lot of camp and preseason?
Yeah,
Holy shit!
without
That's
hitting
weird.
people.
But dude, the last couple of weeks, AVT's been like, and numbers, whatever you want to say, I know the numbers back it up as well, but his film has been good. Like he looks good. And now you're going to next year with Becton at left tackle, with AVT. I would think one of Moses or Fant's gonna be the right tackle next year. I would guess maybe a developmental guy, second, third round. Maybe they take a spot, you know, midway through the year, whatever it may be. But I think 3 of the starters are kind of there. And I think center and guard get replaced. I would hope that the biggest needs on the team, as always, are addressed in free agency because you can't guarantee in the draft. So I want to see them kind of splurge in free agency in center and guard. And could you see the Jets saying, let's say they draft, what's the guy, Tyler Linderbaum, whatever his name is, that everybody's obsessed with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see them moving maybe McGovern to guard? And then drafting some
I wouldn't want to do that.
No?
I wouldn't want to do that. Yeah, dude. I mean, like, so did people say that he was drafted when in college? Was he a guard? I feel. Did I hear that somewhere?
I think he was a guard when he first started with the Broncos. Whether he played center or guard in college, I'm not 100% sure.
Dude, I almost want to say that transition from center to guard, in my mind, is harder than moving from guard to tackle. And you might say, oh, well, it's interior offensive line versus tackle. It's pretty different, especially when you consider pass sets. But just think about snapping a ball, right? Like that. People think that's easy.
Oh no,
but it's not easy when you got to get your head up and then you got to pull and get around, or when you got to reach a fucking 350-pound dude.
Or there's a 350-pound dude who has good snap timing, and you're snapping a ball, and your head's between your ass and your legs. Like it's hard. Center's hard.
Like that is not easy at all. So like, okay, like now you say, okay, well he goes to guard. He doesn't have to do the snapping, but is it the same thing? You know, I wouldn't want to take that risk personally.
I would rather see, and obviously, ideally, in the next few years, you have a new center, right guard, and right tackle. Like Moses, listen, he's been okay. You know, I think Fant at left tackle has been better than Moses as a right tackle. He let up a lot of pressures this game, Moses. And again, people got overhyped when they signed the guy for $3.5 million. Like there's a reason he was cut. There's a reason they got him for so cheap. He's an average right tackle. That's it.
But so here's the question I'm going to pose to you. And I think I know my answer, but again, that's subject to change as the season goes on. Moses, if you can get him at the same salary next year versus Fant at his salary, will you take him?
I would say they're pretty much even right now. So if you can get one for $3.5-4 million versus $9-10 million, whatever Fant said, then yeah, you cut Fant, you have Moses. And then hopefully with that situation, you draft or sign or let's just say assign premium capital, whether that be money or draft picks, to center, right guard. And then right tackle, you hope to see drafted in like the second or third round and develop him to take Moses' spot, you know, next year. They need to keep addressing the offensive line.
By the way, speaking of injuries, Cam Clark, another guy who didn't even get to take a snap.
And I thought he was going to be good. Like I liked his film at tackle moving into guard. I really did. I thought he was aggressive enough. Jan says Katz Nelson, so I got it right at the end. And he said he was supposed to come by at the Pats tailgate, but you were already inside. Yeah, I think you DM me.
Well, we went inside late though.
It was like 12:10. I think he messaged me like 12:30. I'm like, no, I'm inside. You got to go inside at least like at 12 o'clock. I pack up. 12:10, I'm gone.
Not to mention even the official Jets Twitter and stuff was saying get in the stadium early because there's going to be lines and stuff.
Yeah. A Devils video. Devils play their first game tomorrow night, right? Excited about that. Okay. Moving on. Oh, we have one more question we'll get to before we get to the skill players. Rodrigo Leal says hi from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Not sure about that. Nice to see you here in Brazilian group of Jets fans. We believe we should trade May and go offense in the draft, first and second round. What do you think?
Depends on who's there and stuff.
Yeah, so I hate answering this question because I feel like people want I want this guy. It is way too early to know exactly who I want in what spot. And two, how does the board fall? Is Linderbaum gone and all these offensive linemen are gone and there's no tight end to take there, and you're going to reach on a second round tight end versus a top half of the draft or top half of the first round linebacker. We don't know how it's going to fall. So yeah, if I had to lean offense or defense, I'm still going offense because we still need 2 offensive linemen. We still need maybe another top tier receiver. We need another running back. We need all these things. So would I lean offense more? Yes, but how is the draft going to fall? How is the board going to fall? We don't know. So I would say I'm going to lean offense more heavy, but do I have to lock down and say, okay, for the first 4 picks of the draft are going to be offense again? I can't say that because they have a big need at safety. They have a big need at linebacker,
Hey, by the way, Mike Knight said GVR and McGovern both have to go. I'm cool with that. Definitely. But I think people are a little bit harsher on McGovern than warranted, to be honest. And you compare his play early this season as opposed to last season, he's been a lot better. And I would even say that, he's been probably, I would assume, not assume, I would say he's been better as this season's been going on too, as the games progress. Do you agree with me? Generally speaking,
McGovern?
Yeah.
The first game or two, we definitely struggled, but I would say since then he's been like average.
I think people are a little overly harsh with him because he can get a little snippy with people on social media. This isn't the first that apparent screenshot or whatever, whether or not it was true. And I would assume it is.
Yeah,
he was also talking shit on Twitter. When they signed Fant and him, he was, everybody's sleeping on us, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like this isn't the first time that he snapped at someone on Instagram too. So I think that makes fans a little bit more harsher to him. And he was the biggest free agent signing from that free agent class, if I'm not mistaken. And he kind of hasn't lived up to expectations. So
no, yeah.
we thought he was
going to be average to we thought he was making that 16 to 10, 10 to 16-ish range as a center. And he's been below average, but I would say.
But compare him to the centers we had before that, man.
Oh, Jonathan Harrison and Spencer Long and all these guys. No, he's below average to average, which you don't want.
There was one dude who went to Ivy League school. I'm forgetting his name. He went to some Ivy League school. He was terrible.
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name right now.
We have Verge Tips talking about beers in the game. He says my father was disabled, wheelchair. We used to smuggle 6-packs into Giant Stadium. And Brendan Byrne Arena under his wheelchair. Hey, wow. Take advantage of your surroundings. Hey, dude, that's smart. It is what it is. If my dad was in a wheelchair, I'd do the same thing. I get it. Let's see. My name is hard for you Americans, but the name is the city. You said, okay, it's the biggest city in Brazil. Sao Paulo is St. Paul in Portuguese. Okay, so St. Paul. So I should know this because I'm actually Portuguese. I'm actually like 15% Portuguese. So I got a little bit of Portuguese in me, Rodrigo. So it's my fam out there. Okay, so moving on. The skill players on the offense. You can kind of you can trickle into last game too because you weren't here, and I let Nani do the same thing as well. And people are saying, yes, McGovern has been disappointing, undoubtedly. We paid him to be near that top 10 of centers. He's been 18 to 20, or some at times he's been 27th, but I say he's more drifting around that 20th range. You're not going to get brutalized with him game in, game out, but he's been disappointing for sure. But the skill players, Kyle, what do you think about, receivers, tight ends, running backs?
Well, do you want to go person by person? Corey Davis, he's kind of been like a roller coaster for me, man. He's got way too many drop balls for my liking, but he did come up pretty big in some big moments. So I kind of I tweeted out in the Titans game, he's on the shit list because you're talking multiple straight games with passes you need to catch when you're supposed to be the guy on this team.
Yep.
But then he kind of redeemed himself, especially listen, I don't know who the corner was guarding him in that Titans game, but that took a lot of improvisation with Zach right there. catching the ball, tracking it over your shoulder, hauling it in, not get it, hanging onto it, making sure it didn't bobble. Like that was a nice catch right there, and he's shown his yak ability at times this year. There was an out route against the Titans where, he must've went for like 20 something yards and, he throws a stiff arm, transitions the ball from one hand to one hand. Like, I like that. They have been trying to force the digs to him too much over the middle. And honestly, like a lot of the out routes, like Zach is not hitting them. Not like it might've been Zach's best route that he threw in college.
Outs and comebacks.
Yeah. And dude,
and back shoulder
the game.
fades.
So I was watching your Titans review, which I'm not done with yet, but you were saying if he hits this, I'm like the game is probably almost over. No, it definitely would have been. It definitely would have been over for sure. Like the Titans couldn't stop the clock after
3rd and 10, like a speed out.
That's all Zach.
Line.
It's all Zach.
Because like it looks like a time like he's like aiming it and guiding it, like we're saying, but like he just doesn't understand situations like general accuracy. Just put it on his body. Like you don't have to lead him. You don't have to put it behind. Like just on him. And that's a play. Put it on him, game's over. Because that's like 3rd and 10, like whatever it was, like 2 minutes left. They could just kneel it, whatever it was. I forget exactly what the situation was at the time, but
yeah, that's on Zach. And some people and to criticize Corey and to kind of praise Zach a little bit. So sometimes when they do force balls over the middle, or not force balls over the middle, but inside breaking routes, dig routes, Zach has been doing this a lot. I don't have numbers or anything like that, but you see a trend where Zach is purposely throwing it behind a little bit. And it is on purpose. It's not it's not a horrible throw. He's doing it so he's not getting killed. Corey needs to catch those. And Zach is doing that to try to protect him.
Broncos game, that was no.
So there was one in the Titans game.
And he dropped
maybe not the Patriots game. Like the Patriots game, that was a bad pass. Like JC was all over him.
He's had a couple. He had the Broncos pass, which was contested, dropped it. He had another pass in the Broncos game, dropped it. Titans game behind him.
If I'm not mistaken, there was one in this Falcons game too.
No,
I'm not mistaken.
No, he was. Yeah, I looked at that again. He was supposed to lead them there. He put it way too far behind him. That was Zach Wilson. Unless you watch it, maybe we could talk at a different time. But that was
maybe it was a different receiver in a similar situation that I'm thinking of. Then I could be wrong though.
So he's had a couple of big drops and stuff like that, but overall, like he's getting open. He's been missed sometimes. Like he's been a high tier, low tier number one, or sorry, a low tier number one, high tier number two. Again, you have to understand like he wasn't signed to a $19 million contract. Like it's not like we signed Devontae Adams. This is what he's doing. We signed a guy for less than Nelson Aguilar got. And he's producing. He's going to put like based on the track he's on now, he probably put like close to 1,000 yards, right? I don't know what the math is on that, but he puts like a 100-yard game and then like a 20-yard game and then a 100-yard game and like a 20-yard game. Just kind of he's been a little bit inconsistent. We heard that with the Titans and that kind of was the way he was. But Cole has been okay. Like he's been there, catches the ball when it's thrown at him for the most part. I like him. Elijah Moore is getting.
I love the toe tap. And
Elijah Moore is getting open. It's just not going to him, whether read progression or whatever it may be. I think he's getting open more than people realize he is. So I'm not like super worried about him. It's like he's getting locked up, but I would rather see him play more slot than the outside. They're playing him more outside. And while I think he could also be good at the outside, I would see him in the slot more to start off his career. But the problem is you have Crowder in there now, and you had Berrios at first where you didn't really trust your outside guy, and maybe even Cole some. So you kind of forcing him into a spot that he's not necessarily uncomfortable in, but one that's not ideal for him. Like, so I think the receivers have been fine. I really do. While some games are disappointing, more in the first game, what's his name, been up and down. Crowder had that drop pass. Zach Wilson, ball snapped to his right, bobbled the snap. He didn't look it in at the same time, gathers it, rolls out to his left, points Crowder to the sideline. Crowder sits it down, hits Crowder. Crowder drops the ball after he hits the ground, and there was like an illegal shift or whatever. So like the receivers have been disappointing, but at the same time, Crowder's been pretty solid. Davis has been okay for what we thought he was going to be. Moore has been disappointing in terms of statistics, but he's been getting open, I'm disappointed in the fact that he's had one design touch, right? This whole season on the end.
Where he got a concussion. He got a concussion on that play.
Concussion against the
Broncos. He had one against the Panthers, which they lost a lot of yards, I think, or it might have been the Patriots.
They definitely Panthers.
The Patriots. You're talking about Elijah Moore?
Yeah.
He definitely had an end around in one of those games too.
Not remembering. Maybe they,
I think
maybe
I
they
think it
don't.
was one of those shotgun shuffle passes. I'm pretty sure he had one of those.
Wasn't that the one in the
Broncos
Broncos game? We got the concussion.
That was week 3.
Pass?
But I think he had one in week 1 or 2 as well.
You could be right. So let's okay. So let's say 2
It
out of
hasn't
the 4
been-
weeks he's played. It's not enough.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a guy in Braxton Berrios seeing end arounds and jet sweeps or whatever over,
And not to mention too, like, okay, so we both complained about how we don't like Ty Johnson on third downs because he's a liability in pass pro, and he's honestly not that good at catching passes either. We saw Elijah Moore as a running back in college do some nice things. You could put Elijah Moore in the backfield as a running back, and then you could still have Corey, Crowder, and whoever else, Keelan or whoever else you want to put in there, Mims. You can have all those guys on the field, and like it still gives you the defense an element of surprise. Oh, you're gonna have a light box. You don't think we're gonna give it to Elijah? We'll give it to Elijah. Oh, you don't think you want to stack the box or something like that? Okay, well, watch Elijah get out into the flat, catch it. He's so good at catching and transitioning from catch to run. He gets up the sideline and gets 10 yards for a first down. Like, so, I'd like to see a little bit more of that too, to be honest.
Like, how much better of a running back is Ty Johnson than Elijah Moore if you're just lining him like straight up in the backfield? And you are right, because people mentioned it in the Panthers game. He had a design touch because that's how he had like one catch for -3 yards or 6 yards, whatever it was. I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the look was. But
I think I remember us looking at each other after that and just like shaking our heads at the stadium.
Jets gang says, I think we overrated Zach missed balls. I watched the Chiefs and Bills game. Mahomes misses a bunch of wide receivers. Only difference is Mahomes has Andy Reid and Jets have LaFleur. Regardless of what you want to say, I don't see Mahomes missing wide open guys in the flat. Wilson is missing too much. Davis to close out the game last week.
But people
Griffin to
forget
close out
too.
the game last week. Like he's missing too much, regardless of what Mahomes does or does not do. He is missing. Now, let's say you have 10 gimme throws in a game. Can you miss 2 of those? Yeah, sure. But Wilson's like 50-50 on some gimme throws right now. Like seemingly, it's not been pretty underneath. So while I do understand you cannot hit every single throw, it has to be at a higher rate than it is now, undoubtedly.
Yeah, and people forget too that Patrick Mahomes did sit his rookie year, and that does mean a lot too. He got to sit, learn under Alex Smith, get used to the speed of the NFL game. I think that helped him a lot. Like he would not have put. I know he put up 50-something touchdowns in his first actual year of starting. If he played every week his rookie year, he would not have had a stat line like that. I can guarantee you that.
No way.
It takes time for these guys to develop.
So yes. While I understand that guys will miss these passes, you can't miss Ryan Griffin on a 10-yard throw to put on his body to close out a game. You can't miss even that throw to Crowder that everybody hyped up in the red zone. That ball was 1 late and 2 inside.
That was not a good ball.
It was not a good ball. It was a laser, not a good ball.
How does PFF grade a play like that? I know you don't know the answer, but I'm curious. Did they grade that as a positive play? Because in reality, it's really not.
Like average. It's like an okay play, late and inside instead of on time and outside. His accuracy has to improve. It's not an excuse that other guys miss throws, because these are throws that I'm pretty confident that me 15 beers deep can hit in the parking lot. A 10-yard throw, I can hit it. Like, come on. I don't know. How do we see Zach playing against the Pats?
Better than last time.
If we play if the team plays the Pats the same way and Zach Wilson is just like, let's say like the middle ground, like Panther Zach Wilson, still missing some throws but still making some plays. I think we could be in that game for sure. That's not.
Oh yeah.
That's not. I don't think he's gonna throw 4 picks. I can say that. I think it'll be a competitive game, but moving on. Yeah. So receivers have been fine.
I'm curious to see, the running game was really good in that game. Are they going to be as good this game? Is
Becton coming back this game or after? Like when is he coming back?
I don't know the answer to that. That'd be really cool if he did.
It was like 4 to 8 weeks. I think it was 4 to 8 week window after week 1. So he could come back for this game technically, right? It's 2, 4, yeah.
That would be cool.
Maybe it's a little bit later, but I know Jared Davis is coming back. Maybe it takes him a couple of weeks to work back into it. But moving on from the receivers, tight ends. Croft is out. I think Croft is an okay number 2 at best. But to have Ryan Griffin seeing all these snaps and stuff like that over Mims and all these guys is a joke, whatever. I'm not going to touch on the tight ends. Running back, Coleman has had a few flash plays here and there. I still think he's a jag. Ty Johnson has been disappointing this year. And I think Michael Carter has been give him a solid B+. Like he's not doing crazy good, but he's still doing good enough like he always breaks first contact. Like he's been impressive with that. That's for sure. So I'm definitely happy with Michael Carter and think he could be part of like a two-headed backfield. So
Yeah, Carter's fun, man. He's so good at like, when people dive at those little short little legs, he's so good at lifting them and absorbing contact. And whether you want to call it contact balance, but it in a way it kind of is too. Like he definitely has that too. But what's really impressed me about his game is when he's literally had guys who've wrapped him up, like they've had both arms wrapped around his waist and they can't pull him down. And he's still dragging them and throwing him off him. Like I did not expect that out of him in the NFL, but we're seeing it early on, which is cool.
Yeah. Back then people were saying maybe like week 9. Okay. Maybe it's week 9. Yeah. I don't think it will be this week, but I think
they shouldn't rush it. That's for sure.
No, do not rush it. And I heard people like on Twitter, like, be like, oh, we should move him to right tackle because Fant's playing well at left tackle. Like what? So past that, I guess we can go to the defense now, right? We don't really have anything else to hit on offense. You want to start from the secondary up, or do you want to start back to front? Oh yeah, by the way, Michael Carter too. This is what I talk about. And Yoshi, I know he's in here for a lot of the streams, and I talk about this a lot. People talk about like this is literally what I heard from people before the draft or after I drafted him. I like Michael Carter, but he's like too short to be like a top back. I'd rather have a running back at 5'8", 5'9" than a running back at 6'6'1". Because again,
Derrick Kennedy's not the norm, guys.
A big thing with running backs is center of gravity, which leads to contact balance. Look at Michael Carter. Look how many times he's thrown his hand down to maintain balance. Could he do that if he was 6'1"? No, he would be off balance. So you'd rather have Maurice Jones-Drew or Marshall Faulks, like whoever it is out there. There's plenty of short running backs who are really, really good.
Dude, almost all the really, really good running backs in NFL history are like under 6 feet tall.
5'10".
Like you'll get your average. like Arian Foster was really good for a certain period of time in the NFL. Like he was 6'1", 220 something. So he's a bigger, taller dude. Derrick Henry, why am I forgetting the Tennessee Titans running back? Longtime Tennessee Titans running back who's now a head coach at some college.
Tennessee Titans running back. I'm blanking out on
bald head Eddie George. No,
Eddie George.
Yeah.
Eddie George.
So like those guys are, and please nobody say Brandon Jacobs because like he was just a role player with the Giants. It's rare to be a big 6'2+ running back and be good. Like most guys are short. It's just think about it. You want to the low man wins in football. You want to take out somebody's legs, and if they're shorter, it's harder to get low on them. Simple as that. By the way, so you wanted to go to defense, and then we kind of swung back to Michael Carter.
Yeah. And we'll get to the corners now. Actually, Verge is a good whatever from you because I mentioned this in the thing. They were still using Ty Johnson on third down last week. Shake my head. At least he finally made a play, but still, yeah. I said that literally in the recording. I was like, they should not be using him. Jay said, "What's good, Joe? What's up, Jay? I'm not sure if you've been in here before, unless you change your name." John Ippolito says Robert Saleh is clueless. Not only did he screw up Denzel Mims, he didn't sign to Josh Adams. I want someone with any football knowledge to YouTube Josh Adams highlights at Notre Dame. I will combat that with saying, yes, I like Josh Adams, but go look up Greg Dortch highlights and tell me how good you think he's going to be based on highlights. Continuing, the young DBs.
Who's Greg George?
Greg Dortch.
Oh, Dortch. Oh.
Dortch. Secondary, or the young DBs. So the corner safeties this game. Gerard Wilson struggling. Ashton Davis didn't show up in a bad or a good way this week, which is okay, I guess. Bryce Hall this is probably his worst game overall in terms of some technical things. Same thing for Michael Carter, but again, Michael Carter drew Kyle Pitts on a couple plays. He got beat, which you'd expect, but there were some things in terms of leverage and how he played it I would like to see. And then I think in terms of Brandon Eccles, I think Eccles has been impressive considering he's a 6th-round pick, but overall he looks like a guy who's going to be a good 5 or 6 with a good corner group than he is the number 1. Like he made some pretty bad mistakes the last couple of weeks he's been in the game. So I would say Eccles is a good, based on right now, you're going to say, let's just say Hall number 1 or 2. You have Carter as a slot. You have Guidry as the 4, right? So then Eccles would move into the 5. Hopefully Dunn or Pinnock could be the 6. And then next year you bring in, whether it be a free agent or a high draft pick to be the opposite starter of Hall. But kind of quick thoughts.
So when Eccles went out in the Titans game, I believe Guidry went in and played a good amount of snaps for him. And obviously Eccles is going to get better. He's a rookie. And Guidry, based on body type and stuff, is obviously more geared to the slot. But would you like to see Guidry play more in Eccles' place? I'm asking you what your opinion is on that.
It's kind of like that's an interesting question because like, what is Guidry being molded to do? Like, do they want him to be an outside guy or do they want him to be like the backup slot dime guy to play inside as well? So while they think Eccles is more of an outside guy, so that's about development versus like who's going to play better in that rep. Like, do I think Guidry is better 1-for-1 on the outside than Eccles is right now? Yeah, but at what point do you want to see Eccles take his lumps so he could be a primary backup as an outside guy next year? Like, it's an interesting conversation, but either way.
Which defensive back had the dropped interception in this game?
We're talking about Hall?
No, I'm not talking about that. There was some type of ball where Hall's near interceptions came like near the sideline. But there was one time where Matt Ryan kind of threw a ball over the middle, which hit. I can't remember if it was a corner or the safety, hit him in the hands and he didn't catch it. You don't know what play I'm talking about?
I cannot think about that play. I know there was a play over the middle where two like a safety in a corner like collapsed on it and they hit the ball out and it was dropped. But I don't remember specifically hitting a guy in the hands.
Maybe it didn't hit him in the hands then, but yeah, they're not catching. And you can tell.
Eccles dropped it last game in the Titans game.
Yeah,
he dropped like three.
Definitely. And, he dropped one in the Patriots too. Like you could tell Salah's pissed about this. Yeah. He's pissed, but he's also remaining patient. And you could tell this is why players love him. He's never going to call players out. He's saying we're going to get them eventually, but man, we need to start getting turnovers. And thankfully we did get some fumble recoveries. I mean, this game could have been, I know it was 1-score game, but it could have very well been a 2+ score game if some of those turnovers didn't go our way. Yeah.
Davis dropped an interception. Ashton Davis. What play was that?
Dude, I didn't screen grab this time because I got discouraged when I couldn't share my screen.
Play, but good recall, guys. I forget that play to be completely honest. I put up 61 plays. I'm surprised I didn't remember that. Okay, weird. But yeah, in terms of Niso, I have no idea how I got here because I'm a Rams fan. But I'm glad to think how to fix the Jets. Yeah, it's kind of that's all we do.
I wonder how many NFL live streams are running right now. It's probably a lot across the league.
You'd assume so. You'd assume so.
So why did he end up in the Jets
time? Hey, whatever. We appreciate it. He's not talking shit yet, but we'll see. Maybe you missed JFM. Yeah, that's true. Verge. Maybe he's doing pretty well for us. Thank you. But yeah, for the young corners, like listen, going into the year, we thought that they were a bottom 3 unit in the NFL. To be fair, like I think we did. You found a story because we were saying that Hall, while we think he could be number 2, still had to prove he could be number 2. That's like direct quote. He proved he could be at least number 2. Positive. Yes. Eccles to me is proving while he's been up and down, he could be at least a backup. Which
he's a guy who can make many rosters across the league
as a backup, primary like a spot starter. Which again he'll develop. Let's just say he's a 5th or 6th guy on your roster. So you found in Hall this year a starter, Carter as a starter slot. We think obviously is a long way to go. Guidry as a primary backup. You have and then past that, you don't really know, but you have probably like your 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need a number 1 next year. Coming into the year, we thought, okay, maybe Hall, and then maybe one other guy works out. We've had another 2 or 3 guys work out, so that's good. Niso, y'all. So listen, the Rams blow the Jets out of the water. But for a Rams fan to be talking shit about jerseys, the Rams uniforms are the worst in the NFL. They're gross. So are the Falcons too, with that whatever that is. Like
the gradient
fading into another color looks terrible. But the Rams look like cheap plastic. Like I would buy that jersey, like, oh, I got this from freaking China and they fucked it up. Like the jersey's gross. It is so bad.
And that's just hating on the uniforms. I have nothing against the Rams.
No, I don't hate the Rams at all.
Aaron Donald's probably my favorite player in the league to watch.
Oh wow,
I love watching him play.
Nobody loves watching Aaron Donald play. Yeah, I'm not saying on Rams at all. I like.
There's a lot of players in the league, Joe, who are very good, and
Aaron Donald.
A lot of people would probably say a quarterback, though. Oh, I love watching Mahomes play. Oh, I love watching.
Sure, we're not really going out on a limb, but okay,
I'm not saying I am. I'm trying to be nice to the Rams fan while also being honest.
Okay.
You're a pain in the ass sometimes.
Nick's justice for Kyle's screen share. No, it's not happening. He already got his name on the intro. But yeah, Niso, I have no problem with the Rams. I actually think that when they got Stafford, a lot of people are like, oh my God. Like, and they've obviously disappointed since the first couple of weeks, at least to my knowledge and what I've seen. Because because I think they lost to the Cardinals. I thought they would beat the Cardinals, but I like the Rams. I think Stafford's underrated by people like, oh my God, he never won the Lions. Okay, look at the Lions. And I think they're legitimately a Super Bowl contender. I would say them with the Cardinals now, the Cardinals, the Bucks are probably the 3 favorites in the NFC. Maybe you could say the Packers if they start to put their stuff together, but the Rams are.
I don't think the Cardinals is as good as their record is saying.
Neither do I. But I think Rams or Cardinals right now, if you had to say them NFC Championship game right now, I think it'd be. I don't know, man. I think the Rams they kind of shot themselves in the foot that game from what I saw. But nonetheless, we're not talking shit about the Rams. We actually like the Rams. But your uniforms suck. So let's
by the way, Ant.Prodigy is one of my students, and there's this big student who's a football player in the school. He's like 6'4" or something, and Ant called him out today. He's like, because they were like playing basketball against each other. He's like, you got to stop getting injured. You're like Mekhi Becton.
Is he a Jets fan?
Ant's a Jets fan. I don't know about the other dude.
Yeah, Seahawks looks like kids' clothes from Target. Yeah, Seahawks, Rams, Falcons are gross. The Jets,
dude.
I
played in a flag league a couple of years ago, and the dude who ran the team that I was on, he wanted to get jerseys that looked exactly like the Seahawks jerseys.
They're gross. Is there any other jerseys I'm missing? I hate the Browns colors. I hate the Browns uniforms. Never liked it. TJ Decker just got here. What's up, Joe and Kyle? What kind of offensive approach you expected the Jets to explore coming off the bye? I want to answer that, and then we'll move to the linebackers and defensive front. Kyle?
Yeah. Okay.
What's the offensive approach? What's the change for the Jets? And we could do that into that. I think the headline of this video is how to fix the Jets. So
I think the biggest change has to be personnel. Right. So you're going to figure more ways to manufacture touches, but you have to have Elijah Moore and either Berrios on the field or Jeff Smith on some reps and find ways to manufacture and give them the ball. I mean, like, listen, there's a reason why, Deebo Samuel gets a decent amount of manufactured touches every game. He's not just getting one per game. So that, like we talked before about getting some of the quick game involved. Yeah. Shotgun quick game, get Zach's confidence up. He starts hitting some passes. He starts feeling himself. He starts feeling like he has, if quick game, you're getting the ball out, you're naturally going to feel like you have more time. And when you feel like you have more time, you're not going to rush your throws as much. When you don't rush your throws as much, you don't have mechanical problems. So
it feels more natural instead of having to think about it. But yeah, I think a good kind of checklist is I want to see more tempo. I want to see more hurry up. He seems more comfortable in that. I want to see more manufactured touches for Moore. I want to see more shotgun. I want to see more short passes to get him going early. Am I missing anything? Those are the 4 bullet points, right?
Dude, I'd love
changing the personnel. That's a 5, right?
So I would like to see this week. You're going against the Patriots, Bill Belichick. So you got to pull out the stops sometimes. What I want to see is Jeff Smith get 1 or 2 handoffs on an end around in this game, and then I want to see him throw the ball on a future end around after they already kind of set it up, because he's a college quarterback, so you figure he can make a throw.
Yeah.
And these are things you have to do sometimes when you have to find ways to help your young quarterback. You don't want him throwing the ball 40 times a game. So how can you help him out?
Yeah, no, I agree. People are talking about the uniform still. Jets green unis suck. Kelly Green is peak. Yeah, I like the Kelly Green.
I don't think the Jets green uniforms are bad.
I hate. Yeah, I agree with you. When the Jets wear the white jerseys with the green pants, I asked this question in the film review. When's the last legitimately good game the Jets have had in that uniform combo? I cannot.
Well, didn't they beat the Patriots in Foxborough with that? But we're talking 10 plus years ago.
Okay, so you're going 10 years.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was that was the second best win of all time for the Jets. Sure,
but since then, has there been I can't even think of the games they've won in that combo. I have no idea. They suck in that combo.
I know they beat the 49ers in San Francisco, the Kaepernick, Chip Kelly 49ers in San Francisco with Bryce Petty back in 2016.
Yeah, Rodrigo wore RPOs. There was one RPO that worked this game. I forget exactly who that was to though, but there was definitely an RPO this game that worked, or the past game.
Oh yeah, there was one.
Where the handoff's going to Wilson's left and he's reading the right defensive end. The right defensive end crashes. He throws a slant or whatever it was over the middle. I forget exactly who that was to though. But that worked. But yeah, what did we say? We said more shotgun manufactured touches, personnel too.
So they ran an RPO and they hit, I think it was a running back in the flat, if I'm not mistaken.
Not this game. There was another one too that was over the middle, 100%.
Yeah.
Or no.
Which was like a box. It was like a box read RPO where the box was crowded, and then you had, I think they had doubles to the right, if I'm not mistaken, and when the running back becomes the fast 3 out there, you had their personnel outnumbered 3-2 out there. So the receiver, receivers are blocking both the defensive backs out there, and the running back had some space.
And-
I could be
and
wrong
if-
about that, but I feel pretty confident.
If you look at the Crowder play too, I'm pretty sure at the top of my head that was an RPO as well.
Yeah.
So if and he was reading that defensive end, if that defensive end stayed out in coverage, wherever outside linebacker, he hands it off to the running back. If he crashes down,
that might be the play I'm thinking.
Yeah, the Crowder play was an RPO. I forgot about that. Somebody,
and that dude, and that there's a good chance that's going for a touchdown.
At least to the red zone.
General accuracy, so Crowder doesn't have to slow down too much. There's a good chance it's going for 6.
Gerard Bailey says, does the Shanahan offense have 4 wide receiver sets? Is there precedent to do that? Yeah, they run 4 wide receiver sets. Now, are they more heavy 12, 21, 100%? But you have to at a certain point. I get playing the system, but would I rather see Denzel Mims and Keelan Cole on the field over Ryan Griffin? Yes. So while they're not heavy in that system, you have to adjust to your talent. And maybe this year you're a little bit more 11 personnel than you want to be. Next year you get a tight end who's worth a shit as a number 1 or 2, and then you can run more 12, but you can't just not run 11 because you're more of a heavy 12 and 21 personnel team because that's what you do. But you got to
let's see more 11 with Wesco in there and not Griffin.
Yeah.
TJ Decker.
Wesco as the inline tight end. I want to see more of that.
We touched on this earlier in the chat, but obviously you're throwing a super chat. So I'll answer any super chat question unless it's going to get me fired or Kyle fired. So I'll let Kyle talk about it because I talk about it a lot. It might be a silly question, but why did the Jets defense look so bad against Atlanta? Is this poor scheming or the Jets being exposed by their weaknesses? So
I don't think TJ was here earlier, but I think you did a good job talking about scheme and stuff earlier. What was pissing you off about the Jets defensive scheme in this game?
Yeah. And to be short, TJ, and I don't know if you watched the film reviews, but the thing that the Jets went away from this game was the fact that they typically have been successful on third down and a lot of down, well, not necessarily a lot of downs, but a lot heavier on third downs. They're a man blitz team, and that's how they have the pass rush there. They play 10 on their guys, so the pass rush get there on third down that they get sacks. This game versus a bad offensive line, or with I don't know what I did the air quotes, the bad offensive line, with a bad offensive line, with an immobile quarterback, with them being a short passing team, slants, drags, crossers, they started to run zone coverage and zone blitzes. So now instead of locking a guy up man on man, now you're zoning and you're leaving more room for confusion versus a quarterback who's smart and who's going to pick you apart in that aspect. So it's like I get maybe if they were worried about bunch sets or if they were worried about a certain receiver, they would switch to zone and maybe cone a guy or bracket a guy or whatever it might be in that individual look. But they just got too fancy. And listen, I get the fact that Saleh said, okay, JFM, that was worked in the past. 1, I haven't seen that much from them at all this year, so I don't know if that's true. And 2, the other play with Huff, he's playing as a primary hook defender on a blitz. I think they sent 5 guys, and Hayden Hurst is wide open in the middle for a touchdown. You're dropping Bryce Huff across the field into a hook zone. Again, your bread and butter is man blitzes. Why are you running zone blitzes? So it was scheme. They started to run zone blitzes instead of man blitzes. I don't know why they did that, especially versus a team who you should specifically, in my opinion, what you do is if you're man blitzing or just playing coverage in general with a team that likes to go short and over the middle, what do? Inside leverage, make them break outside. If they break inside, you're mugging it. If they break outside, guess what? Outside, longer developing routes. Longer developing routes versus a bad offensive line means your defensive line gets home. So the scheming was a massive problem for me. I was watching during the game and I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Why? So it was bad. Moving on. They 2012 when they have freaking Griffin. Yeah, worries me. Yeah, it's they have to stop being so strong to their beliefs. No, we run 50%.
You didn't have Griffin making your 53-man roster,
no,
did you?
I didn't.
Neither did I. But he's playing this much. It's crazy.
No, I think I had it was Herndon at that time. Herndon, Croft, and I forget who Wesco, I think I said. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but I feel like maybe the Ryan and ATL knew the scheme better than anyone yet, and they exposed themselves. They didn't though, because a lot of the other games we ran man blitzes on third down. This game we started going to zone blitzes. It just didn't make any sense. Maybe they
so
outthought themselves.
they were putting stats out prior to this game that the Jets their biggest coverage was cover one, primarily.
Yeah.
So,
dude, listen, and if they know the scheme, a lot of short stuff, like, okay, blitz and send like robbers and stuff across the middle. I just don't get their game plan of playing off and cover 6 and the one play to pitch across the middle. I think it was like a cover 4. I think it was a 4 on the one side and a cone on the other side. That got blown up. Like, there was so many bad plays. A 3rd and 12 play.
Here's the thing.
Another one was a slant on 3rd and 12 on a drive that you absolutely need to have the ball back. You get away from what you've been doing well, and you run a cone or whatever the hell it was. It was bad. It was just so bad. So
when you go man, it leaves you to potentially getting beat for big plays. But those plays are going to take a little bit longer to develop because your defensive backs are hopefully going to have somewhat sticky coverage, and they're going to be on the receivers at least early. Okay. Now Matt Ryan gets the ball out quick. So, when you're running more zone, he can fit it in the soft spots of the zone quickly. Mm-hmm. But Atlanta's got a bad offensive line. The Jets have a pretty good defensive line. So you're comfortable running more man coverage. You should be more comfortable running more man coverage, thinking, okay, Matt Ryan's going to have to hold the ball a little bit longer, and we should trust our defensive line to beat their bad offensive line. I mean, I think Nania put out some crazy stat prior to the game, like a day or two before the game, that Quinnen Williams against, I guess it was Atlanta's guard. I don't even know his name. He's definitely not good. You could tell he's thoroughly unathletic. That Quinnen had like a really high pressure percentage, and this guy had like one of the highest given up pressure percentages in the league. Okay, well, as a defense, you didn't do enough to get Quinnen, singled up on him more often. And get him in situations where he would have enough time to beat him and get to Matt. Anyway.
Yeah, again, it's just like simplistically, you're looking at a team who likes to throw short passes. Short passes usually mean inside passes, and you're playing off. Specifically, like watching the film reviews, I know this. You're Kyle. Like, how many times have we talked about, and you've seen it, I'm sure as well. Like a lot of the successful reps, 4 Hall, 4 quarter, 4 Guidry, whoever it is them playing press man. They're getting their shuffles in. They're getting their hands on. This game, how many times did you see them shuffle bailing and getting beat inside? Like, how many times was Michael Carter, at least 2 times, was opening the gate and just letting Kyle Pitts just have the inside like 10 yards off. It's like, what are you doing? He's a big ass tight end and you're allowing him inside leverage on you? No. People think like, I'm not sure exactly how to play big tight ends. Like, get your hands on them early and quick, because you let guys like Kyle Pitts, whoever it is, Gronkowski, Kelsey, whoever it is, get ahead of steam. Excuse my French, but you're fucked, So that bothered me too. So it was scheme a lot. We got into it a little bit more before maybe TJ, but CD Ulbrich was definitely overthinking and had too much free time. Yeah, it was definitely disappointing. Herndon stats to date, 2 targets, 1 drop, 0 catches. If that's the actual stats, I think it's something close to that, or maybe it is. What a disappointment. Can you imagine being a Vikings fan and getting a 4th round pick, getting a 6 back and the guy for like nothing? Crazy. But moving on to the linebackers, we talked about the secondary. Quincy Williams, CJ Mosley, getting Jared Davis back. And somebody asked us before, I'm sorry, I forget your name. They were discussing, do you think it's the right move to put Davis in right away over Quincy Williams, or how would you handle that? I forget who it was.
If he's healthy and ready to go, yes. Yeah, because just think about it. I mean, like, let's not act like Quincy Williams has been in this defense for a long time. I mean, we picked him up on waivers, like, a week or 2 into the season, or right at the end of training camp or whatever it was. So like, Gerard Davis has been with us the whole off season. If he's healthy, you put him in. There's a reason you paid him $7 million fully guaranteed or whatever.
Yeah. That and the linebacker unit should be like fun. Like I don't think anybody's going to play up to the level this year where I'm going to say, okay, don't bring in some type of like higher value, like higher asset linebacker. But we're talking about Quincy, who is a bat out of hell, who needs to be like controlled a little bit. Jared Davis, same way, bat out of hell, needs to be controlled a little bit, but they paid him more money. He's more experience. But like, this is a guy who also plays his hair on fire. So like, if they are on the field at the same time, guys are getting lit up with Davis.
How much does Jared Davis weigh?
240.
Yeah, so he's a little bit bigger than Quincy too. So like
240, yeah.
So they both move pretty well. Both got pretty good long speed. You know, they're
for
both
sure.
they're both hammers in the sense that they're always running with their feet
that
under,
play-
delivering their feet while they make a hit. But Davis is bigger.
That play that Quincy made this game, where it was like a mid zone or outside zone to the left, and he kind of sees a hole open and then shoots his shot. Like his second, third step acceleration were ridiculous on that play. Like his acceleration is crazy. So he's a really good athlete. And then Davis, in terms of like, and Quincy hits guys too, but Davis really, really rocks guys. So it's gonna be fun to watch. Literally says Zach is a talent, but you can mess up talent with the wrong coaching 100%. I think it was a mistake to have rookie head coaches and coordinators, and also no veteran presence in the locker room. Yes, yes, and yes. Now, while I don't think it was necessarily a mistake to hire LaFleur or Saleh, with LaFleur coming in, you needed a lot of veteran presence around LaFleur to make that work. Same thing with the locker room. We talk about Josh Johnson.
The Greg Knapp thing is really unfortunate because you want to talk about veteran presence. I mean, just look at what Steve Young said about him recently. You know?
Yeah. So yes, I 100% agree with you. I wanted a veteran quarterback, whether that be guys who've seen more snaps than him, like McCown or Foles or whoever it might have been. And I wanted more veteran presence around him. Again, Greg Knapp does hurt. And Jared Davis is 245, by the way, at least my Jets website. So, but your thoughts on the linebacker? Sorry, I know.
And touch on 245 that can move like that. Yeah, that boy can lay the hammer. My thoughts on what?
You talk about Jared Davis getting reps over Quincy. Now, I think initially it might be like more split where they work Davis in, because obviously he has to work in past his injury, but eventually I think it will be him over Quincy. But now maybe you see more 3 linebacker sets than you did in previous weeks. But overall, the last couple of weeks, what are your thoughts about Quincy and Mosley?
Maybe depending on what the personnel is for the opposing offense. Obviously, you know, I get a little nervous thinking about both those guys being in there, but my thoughts on Mosley?
I'd rather have him than Neesman or Gerard Wilson on the field if they can figure out a way to do it. I don't know.
Touche, my friend. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You said my thoughts on Mosley?
Mosley and Quincy, just last couple of weeks, whatever it may be.
I've been very pleased with Mosley, to be honest. The strip punch out, I mean, that's another heads up play. I cannot understand why he's getting all these bad grades. He's been really, really solid week in, week out for me. Does he get beat here or there on plays here or there? Yeah. Are there times where, maybe here's one thing about him. They're blitzing him too much for my liking. And I understand you're going to have to, just based on, defense is all about confusing the opposing offense. All these quarterbacks are smart. You have to show them looks that they haven't seen before. Like one of the reasons Tom Brady struggled against Belichick is, Tom Brady, I guess in practice, he's never actually went against Belichick in a real game. And, one of the things that the broadcast kept saying was, like you have to constantly throw different things at Brady because eventually he's going to catch on to what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you can say that for a lot of smart quarterbacks, especially Matt Ryan, who's probably a little bit underrated, in terms of mentally upstairs and stuff, especially in short game. Like Matt Ryan's still a quality quarterback at this point in his career. Doesn't have the good deep ball, that's for sure. But anyway, I get that you have to blitz Mosley from time to time, but they're doing a little bit too much for my liking. He's not good at it.
It's his biggest weakness is blitzing for sure. And what are your thoughts about Quincy the last couple of weeks?
He's kind of like a roller coaster, man. He's so up and down. Like
I think this is his best game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Roller coaster ride. Minus one play where like there's I forget everything that I'd bring up. But like there's one play across the middle where it looks like just like based on their zone principles, Mosley was supposed to match the guy he's matching, and then I think Cordell Patterson's like open in the flat. And that's where Tim Moore gets a pass deflection, and Quincy instead of matching Patterson just runs with Mosley, and they're guarding the same guy with Patterson wide open in the flat. But yeah. Mosley, I would say the first game he was solid, but like again he got beat by Christian McCaffrey. But he's been, what did we say before this year, Kyle? We said he's gonna be a top 10 inside linebacker this year. We were confident in that, or at least I was pretty confident in that.
Oh, we were both very confident in that.
And he's been that. Now this game I would say was probably his worst game to me watching it back. I do like the fumble, but there's a couple times in the run game he was the backside, he bit to the play side, he kind of. There were some plays in this game where I thought he was okay this game. He wasn't great, just okay, which is fine. You're gonna have games like that. Quincy, I would say relative
What
to
did you think
expectations.
of Quincy's? So one thing he's kind of struggling in is not pass pro, but pass defense. What did you think about his defense? It was some kind of seam route against the Titans. Do you remember what play I'm talking about? Did you feel like that was good coverage on that play? I think he had a pass deflection, but he was a little late getting there, but he had good makeup speed. You know what play I'm talking about?
I think I brought it up. Did you not? I'm pretty sure that
I haven't got there in your review yet. That's a long.
Okay.
We're talking like a 4-hour review. I
it's like 3 hours and 58 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're talking about this, like a seam vertical route in the Titans game, I break it down. I break it down. I thought it was good coverage though, because
so you see flashes from time to time. I think he struggles with like noticing route combinations and stuff, but he's definitely a pretty good athlete. Like you see, like especially like you'll notice like in run pursuit, like you saw this in the Broncos game where like he's hawking down guys on the backside of run concepts and he's getting all the way there. So like he can move really well, but he's still slow at kind of processing what the route combination is and getting where he needs to be. And reminds you a little bit of Darren Lee in that respect, but he definitely like lays a lot more than somebody like Darren Lee. So like, you can't really compare them.
While Lee might be like a little bit better of like a mover than Quincy in terms of their overall athletic profile, I think he's better because he absolutely destroys guys. Daniel Certain said it finally made it to a live session. Yeah. When it's about to be ended and the chat has died down, but I appreciate it. Daniel,
you brought up Tim Ward before, he kind of flashed a little bit. There was one, he threw some kind of pass rush move. It was later in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it might've been when he got a pass deflection, but he initially rushed outside.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
He had a quick move inside, but it was super quick, man.
Dude, it's so funny. Cause I mentioned that same thing. I was like, let me try to, my screen is all fucked up now, but let me see if I can bring that one up. I
was like, wow, I wasn't expecting it. I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, no, he moved really well laterally. I remember seeing that, like, holy shit. Yeah, this might be at 41. Let's see. Let me just see before. It's a good thing about having film. I got it. 2 seconds.
But dude, the new Game Pass experience
sucks.
Dude, how could you spend so much time developing it and then release it late? Yeah, this is it. Release it late, and then it's even worse than it was before. Yeah, this
10
is
times
what I was
worse.
talking about.
10 times worse. Like you can't even like, and I know with the American version or whatever now, it's like you have to like click on plays individually, and then like it goes from the high angle, just all the high angles, and then the low end, and then the end zone views.
So like you gotta click individually.
And last year, it was fine. You didn't need to change anything. It was a sideline view, the end zone view, the play, and it just went in order. And now it's like complete garbage. Yeah, this is the play we're talking about. And I gave him he got a good grade for me. Or not, I don't really grade guys, but I gave him like a one of the thumbs up from this game. So, but going back to Quincy, relative to expectations, pretty happy with him for sure. Laying guys out. There were some lapses here and there, and I said it in the review. While I like him, what he's been doing, I think people have to realize like what like a really good player kind of looks like. And while he could prove to be a starter next year, maybe I doubt it, but he's a player who how he's been playing now, like in spot duty as like that 4th or 5th or 6th string linebacker, you'd be happy with him. But to say, okay, no, Quincy's got it next year, he's fine. I'm not at that point with him yet, or not even close at that point with him yet.
No.
But let's see. Defensive line, we have about 11 minutes left. So yeah, Daniel said, "Whoops." I thought a bunch of bootlegs and Shannon's offensive. Why aren't they doing that much? They run a couple naked bootlegs, and they have been. Maybe not as you see with the Niners, but I've been seeing enough of it, like naked bootlegs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're not doing enough of that.
Perfect Q asks, "Wonder who needs more classroom time, Wilson or LaFleur?"
Classroom time. I would say Wilson needs more classroom time, but this is where I think Robert Saleh. So Robert Saleh is the head coach for a reason. And when you're the head coach, you make final say over everything. Now you don't want to micromanage. So like, as like a teacher, like I would hate to have a principal that micromanaged me and told me like, oh, you should be teaching history, this, and this way. It's like, what do you know about history? Or did you ever teach history before? But it's a little bit different when you're a coach. And Robert Saleh, kind of starts needing to talk to LaFleur a little bit more about personnel and decisions and things like this. I think Saleh, I think he's wanted to give LaFleur space, but I think he needs to start getting in his ear a little bit about some things he wants to start seeing more, just a little bit.
Like we said, the shotgun, the tempo, the manufactured touches, the personnel, like he needs to get in his ear because he needs to watch his film as a good defensive guy and say, this is what's wrong. This is why you're getting shut down. This is the problem, the play action, all this stuff. Eagle said NFL is doing that to put people like yourselves out of business. Not happening. Thriving slowly. We'd be thriving even more if they were good. But I'm glad I never got NFL Game Pass. I miss doing timestamps. If you still watch, again, all the reviews are just now you have to pay for them. You get like 13 to 20 minutes of like a segment, and then that's 20 minutes. But if you want the full 3 hour plus whatever it is, I think this one's like 2 hours and 58 minutes. Then you gotta. That's the part of the subscription. We need to give you a reason to subscribe. We can't get embarrassed.
And it's worth it, man. Like so this year I've been, watching the games before, and then like I'll watch Blewett's review after. I kind of want to like get my own idea about what I'm seeing first, and then I'll always watch Blewett's review and like I always, oh yeah, I didn't notice that. Like he points out things that I missed too when I watched it on my own, and I spent a lot of time watching it on my own. Like,
dude, I've been rushing it to be honest, because like,
of course you have, but you still probably spend an ungodly amount of time though.
Yeah, it depends on the week, dude. Because like again, if I have work, so like it'll come out on Tuesday. I wake up at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then like I'll have to go to sleep again at like 9, 10. Like probably like 9. So I get like 5 hours there. Then you have to consider like dishes, laundry, cooking. So like maybe like 3.5, 4 hours on like a Tuesday, depending. And then like Wednesday, you have to like put the notes together, do the pick'ems, do all this stuff. So it's like maybe another 5 hours, like 10 hours prep, 8 to 10 maybe, and then the show and then the live stream. So it depends. I was talking about doing timestamps for you for free. Yeah, that was when the whole thing was free on Twitter, or on YouTube. What's up, Joe S? You're a little late, but what is up? Was Wilson inaccurate in college, in short passing game in college?
No.
Gerald, I put 8-hour review of him out in the different parts. No.
And by the way, what is this? And I generally respect this guy, to be honest. So, and I'll say the name. I mean, it's not like he follows me or anything like that. So Seth Galina, who works for PFF now, I don't know if you know who he is. He probably started working for PFF like 2-ish years ago, but he's not just like a numbers dude. Like he knows a good amount about scheme and film. Like he really does. I'm giving credit where credit's due. Never saw, I'm not saying he hasn't, but I never saw him say any negative thing about Zach Wilson ever. Then during the Falcons game, he says, I don't know what to tell you guys, but Zach Wilson was not a good college quarterback. And I saw Nania reply to him, and Nania posted a PFF tweet saying Zach Wilson was the highest graded college quarterback ever. And then like one of the other PFF guys said, yeah, I don't know what Seth's talking about here, but it's like, some of these people are interesting, like when they're so quick to overreact. And it's like, if you felt this strongly that he was never a good college quarterback, then why weren't you saying that, very strongly pre-draft?
Daniel Cern says, so that's my concern. Maybe LaFleur sucks at teaching these concepts, though. You're going to have the principal in your classroom more until you meet expectations. Yeah, no. And there's a thing, like you could have good schemes and good ideas, but how do you teach that? Like you could see what a good offense is, but to actually implement that Monday through Sunday or Monday through Saturday and to get the game day is a completely different game. Like you could, you have to be able to teach it as well.
Dude, so, I'm sure that Adam Gase drew up a bunch of good concepts during the week.
Yeah. Joe S says Wilson's going to be fine. Okay. 6 minutes left. Kyle, defensive line thoughts. I would say overall, again,
this was Fatukasi's worst game. Definitely, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was on the ground a lot this game too, and I saw Q get absolutely hammered. Like first couple plays of the game, he got moved on a double team, like right to his ass. But
there was several instances of that in this game.
Overall, I would say, and people like to like put up like pressure stats and all this stuff, and I get the kind of like aiding to their side of the argument, like that they didn't play that bad. Like, oh well, they got rid of the ball quick, the pressure numbers were there. Whatever you want to say about numbers, blah, 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 blah. Film, I get that they won sometimes. Overall, disappointing.
Yes.
It was a disappointing game.
Huff was on his ass a lot too.
Yeah. JFM had a couple of good rushes, like overall wasn't as good as the last couple of games. Q, not as good as the last couple of games. Fadokasi, not as good as the last couple of games. And Huff, not as good as the last couple of games. So like I mentioned in the review, like whatever you want to put out there about time to throw, all this pressure, like there's a difference between the pressure. Like I don't know how they rate all this stuff, PFF, whatever it is. Like pressure is different for me. Like pushing the pocket pressure while you're blocked pressure, and unblocked because you just won on a club rip pressure. Like it's just like an overall minus a couple plays here and there because people like to put up plays of 3 or 4 Quinnen plays or 3 or 4 of these plays and say, oh, well, look at these plays. Yes, they were on the field for like 70, 80 snaps. Overall, minus the situation or even considering the situation, they were disappointing last game. Do you agree? Not
across
terrible.
Across the board.
Not terrible, but considering the Jets, and I said before this week, like they're like creeping up to that top 5 unit. Like Q's been playing well, Huff, all these guys like 5 to 10, which is great for what we thought they would be. Losing Blair, losing Lawson, and losing Vinny Curry, and for a group that is in that, let's say they're the 7th, 6th ranked defensive line right now. Maybe they're 3 in pressure, whatever it is. They're top 5 to 6. They were disappointing. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, you're coming off a week where you had 7 sacks and a bunch of other, QB hits and things like that. And then to not get as much pressure, and I get some of that is scheme related and things like that, but especially in the run game, they were disappointing, man. Whew. You're talking like, different combo blocks and things like that. Huff on the ground several times, Fadukasi, Quinnen. I mean, players got moved in this game. Like they really did. Like, and Cordero Patterson, he's a fun player. I like watching him play, man. Like he's fun with the ball in his hands. I'm not talking about as a receiver. I'm not saying he runs good routes, but when he's got the ball in his hands, he's fun. But I mean, like he definitely had room to run.
Oh,
right?
for sure. Joe S. appreciate the super chat. Said the problem is Wilson has no veteran presence. Yeah, we said that. They need to bring in more coaches. Greg Knapp was a huge loss. And the fact that they didn't have a backup quarterback who had experience was a big mark on Douglas for me.
We can't really discredit that enough because think about it. Like, what are these guys doing when they're on the sideline? Like they're literally looking at images of what the coverage was when they ran this play. Like they're looking through it. Oh, they ran this on you. They ran this on you. And literally like you'll see a good quarterback, combination, a good quarterback room. They're sitting down saying, oh yeah, I'm seeing this here. I'm seeing this here. How the hell is Wilson going to go to Mike White? Mike White's never even taken a professional snap.
Or even Josh Johnson because he's on the sideline too. But with that being said, he has like 600 career passing yards. Like how many situations has Josh Johnson seen that aren't preseason? Like it's not much. Praj, who, what's up? I didn't see you before, but I know you're gonna hear a lot. Zach is like Mahomes because he needs Mahomes like development. Mahomes was very raw and needed to make tons of saves. Yeah, he's raw. PFF has interesting personalities. Yes, I don't know if you guys saw this today, but your boy Nania body bag Bomani
Jones. Another big mouth that doesn't know anything.
I didn't see if I gotta look it up. Kyle, quickly, because we got 2 minutes left. Again, on a time crunch a little bit. I think the next time you do this, I'm not gonna time crunch, but minute left now. Patriots game, you're not gonna be here to talk about it. Or will you? No, you will
no.
You will not be.
Yeah.
Predictions and then last words, then we gotta bounce.
Well, okay. I guess I'll try to do this quick. It's in Foxborough. Foxborough is hard to play at. The Jets will play much better. They will not get blown out, but they're going to lose. I'll say that. Zach will play a lot better than last time.
What's the final score?
I think he'll probably have 1 interception, but I think he's going to probably toss at least a touchdown and he's going to play a lot better. I'll say that.
Okay. Any last words for the chat? Again, we were hovering right around 100-ish people.
Hey, listen,
after the first little bit.
Yeah, those of you guys that came, great. I know that it's easy to get discouraged after a loss like that. So whoever showed up, thank you for being here and watching. Greatly appreciated.
We will see you guys next Thursday. It'll be myself, Nania, Sabo, and I, hopefully. Somebody says, Rodrigo, please stop streaming the day I have class at night. Hey, it is what it is. We had a long discussion, and Rodrigo, while I appreciate you, we weren't like, well, what day does Rodrigo want us to stream? But appreciate you guys. We will see you later.
Bye.